Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another episode of All You Can Eat Chelsea. Big up your damn selves in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes every single damn time and subscribe if you are new. I'm just realizing I'm not using my real camera. There we go. That's better.
Wow. Nice.
Because
nice switch
yeah, I was annoyed. I was looking at like, yo, I paid good money for this. People be paying money for a lot of things, football clubs as well, but then trying to move mad with them. So we got to talk. We got a lot to discuss today. Big up everybody in the chat. There's a lot to get into. Baba hopefully will be here. I don't know if he's messaged in the group or what's going on.
He did. He'll be on at some point. He'll be on.
Oh, okay. No problem. He'll be here. We will be there. He will be here. All right, cool. Listen, there's no point exchanging pleasantries because the brothers are not feeling very pleasant. So it's just get straight into it. There's a lot to get into, man. Chelsea are going through the shortlist, it seems now. I mean, listen. Maybe we'll speak on this shortlist and it won't even be the shortlist. Maybe this is just a just some sort of mirage that we're in. Smoke screen, yeah, much like last season where we had all those names and then we ended up going to some different type of final three. But what I will say is that obviously last year we did have some unknown quantities, let's say, on the shortlist, in the final shortlist in Vincent Kompany and Postecoglou, in regards to Premier League at least, or top 5 leagues experience, and then they ended up actually being really on the shortlist, and we ended up with Pochettino. So I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that we are genuinely interested in these managers from the division below. And funnily enough, now Vincent Kompany is now managing Bayern Munich, so life has changed. But Miz, to kick us off, what do you make of the list that has come out in the last couple of days?
Look, honestly, I give 2 cents about the list. Like for me, as I said in past few videos, you have a list when you're confused. When I'm confused, I have a list because I don't know what to choose. When I know what I want, I go out there and get it. Do you know what I mean? So, and when you look at the list, it's so varied. It's not even the similar types. It's Thomas Frank versus Kieran McKenna, who I like to call Kieran Trippier, and then you have Maresca. So Maresca, a little bit far more control. I'm hearing it's not like I watch Leicester on a day-to-day basis. Kieran McKenna, I'm hearing yes, he can be somewhat controlling as well, but at the same time can be expansive. A little bit more like, depending on how the opposition is, that's how he sort of molds his game. And then Thomas Frank, we already know. So look, it doesn't excite me one bit. So honestly, I'll let you guys talk about the list. What I want to just quickly touch base on is even prior to the list, I think there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had and that needs to be explored at a deeper level. And what I'm trying to say is that lately, and I've seen the same thing sort of happen to Younes as well. Lately, when you show a little bit of disgruntled attitude towards owners, you already get deemed as a Pochettino stan for some weird, like, I don't know why you get lamented as a Pochettino stan. What we are trying to say is that, look, I think a lot of us probably wanted Poch gone, months ago, let alone how it all transpired later on, right? Yeah, majority. There might have been some that probably wanted to stick around. I see a few people on social media. But what we're trying to say is that this is yet again another manager that's parted ways. These owners are not actually, letting go of managers or parting ways with managers or sacking managers based on footballing reasons. They're actually getting outdone through non-footballing reasons. And that, for me, is a bigger red flag in this whole situation. It is a clear message from the board and the owners that irrespective of who the manager is, they want full control. They will bring in whoever they want to bring in. They will do whatever they want to do. They will sell, they will bring, they will even, I reckon they'll even dictate who the starting lineup would be. I'm pretty sure, because if you don't have it their way, then you're not going to be the manager of Chelsea Football Club. And for me, you can't run a football club like that. You just cannot. So I think that is a bigger issue there. I mean, what happened to the traditional ways? Like, what's with all of this modern day style? We need a young manager. We need a young team. We need all. What didn't the olden days like that method is it outdated now? It doesn't work. Isn't that like what's happening in Real Madrid? What's happening in Manchester City? Like, what's with this? Why we want to copy what, for example, Borussia Dortmund's doing? Why we want to copy what Brighton wants to do? What happened to sensibility? Why are we trying to be something that honestly we're not ready to be as yet? What's with all of this every other day? Just keep buying all of these young players over and over again. We've got plenty. Stop now. Stop. Get some level of experience. And by experience, I don't mean get 30-year-olds. Have a balanced team. Think about your profit margin a little bit later on. Balance the team out so it can compete. What's with getting a manager that is head coach? We don't want a manager. We just want a head coach. Someone who's just going to be able to coach, and that's it. They will not have any say on any matter whatsoever. How is that possible? How is a manager going to come in to a football club, want to outlay their ideology without having some input, without saying, look, I want this type of player in this position. I want that type of player in that position. You want to strip away all of that power. Why? Why are you running it this way? And you've now run it this way for 2 seasons, and it's not paid dividend for you. And what? Now the shortlist, coming back full circle into the shortlist, you're looking at all of these inexperienced managers who all of us fans are expecting next season to at least make it back into Champions League. Is it fair to demand this level of expectations from these inexperienced managers combined with the inexperienced team? What are you trying to do? Stop. Just stop for a second. You're not there yet. You're doing all of these fancy maneuvers that is not required. There are ways to be successful, make money, but doing it the traditional way. All these fancy ideas, I swear to you, this has to be from an American mindset. It has to be. And I'm just tired of it. And none of this is because, I'm a Poch stan. I didn't even want Pochettino in this football club. And that in itself is the first issue. You hired Pochettino after 2 months of rigorous interviews, only to come back 12 months later to tell the fans, do you know what? Tactically, he didn't suit us. So what the F were you talking about in the interview? All of those interviews that you had, what was the conversation? And now I'm going to expect this same lot to pick the next manager. These lot have kept on making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. And it all stems back from Thomas Tuchel. Then they got Graham Potter. Then they got Frank Lampard. Then they got Pochettino. Now the fan base is saying, Miz, you're so negative about the owners. How can I be positive? All they've done so far is just make mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. Now you can turn around and say, but look at the players they've got. No problems. Yeah, sure. 1 or 2 players have really, really stood out. But the other lot, there's still a lot of work that needs to happen. We're not there. So I'm fed up, man. I'm fed up. Just stop. Stop with all of these Enzo Marescas and these Kieran McKennas and these. Is it that bad to just look at a proper good manager out there? Is it like?
What would you say to people that are saying that there's a new influx of inexperienced, young, exciting managers that are going to clubs now? Arteta, obviously, at Arsenal, the first example, and then Thiago Motta, then Vincent Kompany, Xabi Alonso, highly sought after. What would you say to those people who say, like, this is because you know me, I never wanted Conte, I never wanted Mourinho. I do feel like there's a balancing act to this. I don't think those guys are in tune with football right now, and maybe Poch falls into that bracket now as well. Even though he's not even that old, he might even fall into that bracket of being outdated. But I do think that these managers that are on this list, it's not to say that they don't have potential, much like the players that we sign. But I think in the data, a lot gets lost in terms of how difficult it is to manage at this level and to play at this level. What you've done on a smaller scale is not necessarily going to be translated immediately to a higher scale, which is exactly what needs to happen, because there are expectations here. There are demands. If this was Bournemouth, if this was Brighton, you could afford to make mistakes, because let's be honest, when Zerbi's going on a winningless run of 10 or whatever it was, no one is really talking about it because it's Brighton. The spotlight is not on you. Whereas here, like I said in my video yesterday, every single word is analyzed. Every single substitution, every single decision you make, every starting 11 you pick, every single position, obviously these things in the relative fan bases are analyzed at every single club, but on a world global scale, media wise and just viewing wise, everybody is on to Chelsea, and it goes for all the big clubs. I mean, someone was saying as well about Todd Boehly not being the problem. I think Javon was speaking about this prior to the show even kicking off as well. I want to get your thoughts on Todd Boehly and Eghbali's situation, I guess, because I mean, I said the same thing in my video. I've felt this way for months. I don't feel like they're singing off the same song sheet whatsoever. I feel like it's quite clear that there's a difference of opinion between the people in the ownership, which is crazy, because we can't even get the directors and the managers pulling in the same direction, let alone the people in the ownership now. And you guys were talking about potential selling of shares or down the line if he becomes as irrelevant and as Christopher Vavell, I guess, is a great example of that.
Just before Javon goes, I do want to come back to what Matisse, you talked about the whole Arsenal Arteta thing, but I'll let Javon go first because that's a good point you brought up, and I do want to come back with that particular point.
Yeah, so I was listening to Gavin Markati when he was speaking about Chelsea, and he was stating that all of the bigger decision making comes from Eghbali and the other guy. I'm not even gonna call his name. So what happened was before Pochettino got fired, Pochettino had a sit down first with Todd Boehly. They had a lengthy discussion and the talks with, I think they had a dinner, a typical American meeting over dinner, and that lasted about 3 hours. Pochettino did had a follow-up on, I think, on Monday night before the news broke with Eghbali, and then after that was a very short meeting, and then after that Pochettino got fired. So Eghbali is the one who's making the decision.
They're saying your mic's a little bit off, which is.
Can you hear me? Is this a bit better?
Better.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, I said to bring it closer to you. Yeah.
So in actuality, is Eghbali is the one who's making the decision, right? Todd Boehly has a significant lesser share across the board. So when any bigger decision making is being made, it's less consulting with Todd Boehly and more Eghbali. So I was talking, Ms. and I was discussing this prior. Ms. and I was discussing this prior to the show kicking off, and Ms., you were saying you think they're gonna get rid of Todd Boehly?
I mean, what power does he have now? What value does he bring to the football club? So eventually enough, once they realize that, okay, well, this man is only there for the profit, they'll just go, look, just to make our life a lot easier in terms of decision making, we'll just make you a non-executive director. You keep taking your profit, no problems, but we don't want more drama, because as Younes was saying, right now you need all three or however many owners you have in the board, you need everyone's sign off to do anything in the football club. So if there's that many hurdles to go through to get to your decision, what's the most logical thing to do is cut off the hurdles as much as you can. So if they think down the track that, hey, Todd, you only own 10% of the football club, we'll buy you out. Either he gets bought out or he says, no, I want to reap the benefits. The other owners, they probably can sort of collude against him and say, look, we're gonna vote that we're gonna make you as a non-executive director. You can still earn your money, but we need to make decisions quicker. That's what happens in corporate life, I suppose.
How do you feel about this, Younes? it's a mad risk that we're taking here. I said it on Twitter. Me and you were conversing a bit back and forth about the risks that we're willing to take right now. I don't know what to say, man. There's I actually, now maybe he is the mystery man, but I thought Zerbi was a shoo-in. Obviously, you know, he obviously has a lot to say, but considering how often we take ourselves to Brighton to take assets, I thought that would have been the most obvious choice.
You'd think. I honestly at one point was thinking, yeah, could it be Zerbi? I find it funny as well that with all the criticism that Zerbi got, right, it took championship managers to get linked for a lot of people to flip over and go, no, get me Zerbi, get me Zerbi. I'm like, that's still not, for me, that's still not the answer. But what I find crazy is at least a Zerbi or someone, I mean, when we went for Graham Potter, at least that's the tier below, right? That's Premier League, mid-table, tier below us, right? At least. Now we're looking to the division below. And I find it crazy. We're talking about Chelsea Football Club here. And I find it insane to justify a manager. I got to get rid of that word now because those don't exist anymore, apparently, do they? Not even head coaches. Like at this point, you're just a coach. Because at least a head coach should come with a say, right?
Yeah.
Coaches that are in the tier below, respectfully, do have a chance to get there eventually. Absolutely. But the correct next step for them should be a Bournemouth or a Forest or even a Brighton. We're talking at that tier, max, for them to prove themselves, adapt to the Premier League or the highest division, and then from there potentially go, which is why I referenced going for a Potter or even going for a Zerbi as the tier below, that you could on some sort of a level understand why it would be done. We've been there and done that. This is what's crazy. We've been there and done that, and it's like we don't learn. Now we're going even further down to ship and to look and fish and see what we can get. I find it incredible. But this is where I go to what I was saying yesterday on my video. And for me, I agree, Miz. I'm not looking at the gaffers anymore. I'm not looking at, look, if McKenna walks through the door or Maresco walks through the door, I find it incredible. I find it insane. I think would be finished. But I look to them and I go, you know what? I would have done the same thing. Good luck to you. Good luck
100%.
to you. And if you're going to tag along and do what you got to do and then leave and have Chelsea on your CV, I understand it. But the problem isn't with them. They're not gonna say no. Who's gonna say no to Chelsea Football Club leaving Ipswich or Leicester City? I wouldn't. Absolutely not. You give me a choice between Brighton and Chelsea. And even now, there's a reputation, which I'm sure everyone can acknowledge, there's a reputation now where you'd look at Chelsea and go, oh, you were sacked. Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing special. You know, everyone gets sacked from there, so don't worry about it. But you got Chelsea on your CV, and that's just going to elevate you. Poch is actually quite, I would say, fortunate to have left at the time and in the circumstance that he's left, because he's left with, I would say, the football world looking at him in a positive light with 100%. The way that he actually ended the season. And now he's linked with Man United. He's linked with the England job. He was linked with Bayern Munich before they got Vincent Kompany. I find that crazy, but I'll mention that in a sec because I feel like people are overstepping the actual reason as to why they got Vincent Kompany. Then they get rejected by like 55 million managers. That's just Bayern Munich's problem and the way they're run. Yeah. That's just a joke. They had to turn to Vincent Kompany because they didn't have a choice, right? But
exactly right.
I find it baffling that we look to the tier below and we're actually going to expect Chelsea to get into the top four.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about, weren't we just saying that next season is a must?
It's a must.
Not negotiable. If not, we're finished.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. If we're going to end up experimenting to this level, like we were talking about how bad we were experimenting before, if we're going to experiment further like this, it's a wrap.
Here's the thing. You see, if you're going to hire a young manager, you cannot place those expectations on them. You cannot place those expectations on them to finish top four and to challenging the league or to do all of that stuff. Because you know why?
insane.
They haven't done it at this level before. It's impossible. No, it may bang, but you're taking a huge risk. And to me, this is saying, you know what? We're going to put these expectations on you. You're young, and if you don't make it, we're going to hit the reset button next year. I'm tired of being in this position. I'm tired of every year we're going into the season not knowing what the hell is going to go on. Why can't we just stop limiting ourselves and go and say, you know what? We are going to get a top-class manager and make it work from here, and then put those expectations on those top-class manager. You cannot.
Sorry, go on, Javon.
Yeah, you. If it's a top-class manager and you fire Pochettino, bear in mind, none of us want Pochettino to be here. We were only hesitant because we don't know who's out there and the type of names we were linked to, right? So with that being said, if you're going to fire Pochettino and you definitely want top four, the only guarantee is to look at someone's track record and see that they've done this multiple times. You don't come and then you don't come to the fan base and say, "Hey guys, we just fired a manager with some form of experience. Let's go get," and that didn't work out quite well. Let's go get someone with no experience and expect him to do the job even better. That makes sense. Man, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating being a Chelsea fan.
Going back to what Matisse said, and that is a very, very good point to talk about. People talk about Arteta. Oh, but Arteta did it in Arsenal. Miz, it's all about the new wave of managers. Arteta did it. Arsenal did it. Let me tell you something about how the whole Arteta situation materialized. And maybe Matisse and the lads, everyone can help me out with this. How many years was Arsenal in the mud prior to Arteta? Can someone tell me? How many years didn't they play in the Champions League? Was it 8 seasons? Something ridiculous? Arsene Wenger's final few years, like 3 or 4 years before Arteta came, or maybe you can even stretch it up to 5 years, it wasn't that great. Arsenal continuously kept on getting talented players, sold them, kept on building up to a team that could actually do something, and then that got disbanded. Robin Van Persie left somewhere. Nasri left somewhere. Cesc Fabregas left somewhere. And it just continued happening, and they did not achieve anything for years. For years. So by the time when Arteta came, they were already so deep in the mud. They said to themselves, "Do you know what? F everything. We just reset. We just reset and we take our time. We are just going to take our time," right? And how long has it still taken Arteta to actually build the team to where it is right now? Don't forget, a couple of seasons ago, Arteta probably should have been sacked 8 times over. 8 times over in one season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's not what we're trying to do. We're not so far deep in the mud. We literally 2 seasons ago, we were Champions League winners. Matisse, you're talking. You're on mute.
We are that deep in the mud now. I could say that.
So here's my point. Now we're that deep in the mud. So either the owners, the whole project that they're trying to sell, they've sacked 5 managers since they've come in. That doesn't tell me that you're trying to run a project. Either you go this next managerial position, whoever it's going to be, McKenna, Maresca, Amorim, whoever, you need to stick with them. Now you need to stick with them, because if we are claiming that we're in the mud, just the way Arsenal was a few seasons ago, now you need to stick with someone.
But what you're saying to me is, we're in the mud. Let's stick to someone.
Javon,
That's gonna be 3
Javon,
years.
you got to edit your mic settings again, because they're definitely still not where they should be, mate. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, just try.
Is your mic connected? Check
It's
if there's
not-
actually check in StreamYard. If you go to the settings and make sure it's the correct mic that's linked.
Testing.
Just
Go to
mute until you can can check the settings in StreamYard, see if you can fix them. Do you know what though? When you talk about time, right? Time is never going to be given until the structure from top to bottom is aligned. So they've just come out and said, now people have said that Thomas Frank, he used to play a certain style of football at Brentford in the Championship, and he just altered and adapted in the Premier League. If you're going to alter and adapt when you come up against better opposition, right? Or maybe it's the quality of players, but I think we don't have the best team in the league, so you're gonna adapt and you're gonna have to adapt sometimes, and you're gonna have to change your philosophy. Is that what they actually want, or do they want someone that's stubborn, sticks to their principles? Because it sounds like they want someone that teaches football, right? Now, I'm not, that word teach, I don't know. I don't know if I want to hear that, considering we're actually meant to be signing some of the best talents in the world. Do you know what I mean? They're meant to know how to play football. I'll be honest. However, more importantly, are you actually bringing in a coach that is going to play a specific style of play and is going to, stick to his principles regardless? And are we having someone that is going to be a circuit manager and is going to just have everything just laid out on a template, and these are the rules and you have to follow them? Or are we going to have someone that offers a little bit more freedom to their attacking players individually? But then people obviously say, where's the system? Because when you allow freedom, it looks like people don't know what they're doing. It looks like they're free roaming, like it's GTA. What do they want? Have they agreed upon what they actually want? Because this is the problem when you sign players, and a large quantity of players, and then you don't actually have it very clear in your mind, your principles and your style of football. And then you're trying to match the players to the manager, because let's be honest, the players have to, the Enzo Fernandezes and the Caicedos have to match the next manager. You can't. So Ruben Amorim, for instance, right? I haven't watched every single sporting game, but from what I've read up on, and from listening to experts that watch Portuguese football on a regular basis, it doesn't sound like Ruben Amorim is completely suited to the style of football that Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo have to play. So even though that guy is a winner, right, and that guy has won trophies, he has won trophies with profiles that he is comfortable with. He has won profiles with players that he knows how to utilize in the system that he wants to play. I don't think the back three is the worst formation for these players whatsoever. I said that earlier on in the season. I think I could easily see, a Cole Palmer and Nkunku as inverted kind of wingers, and then you've got your back three, your Maatsen at wing back if he was to stay, etc. as an example. However, if we don't start matching, and I'm included in this because Pochettino clearly didn't match the squad, right, as they said. And I don't disagree, because if you're building a team around Gallagher and you're not building around Enzo Fernandez, we always said on this show, not everybody liked it, but we always said on this show, if you're not matching the team to Enzo Fernandez versus Gallagher, you are not going to last. Enzo Fernandez is 150% going to outlast you as two people at this club. Enzo Fernandez is going to outlast you, because he's the one that is the bigger asset to the club than Pochettino. He's the one that cost the most. He's the one that they've put their chips down on. But you can't now contradict why you sacked Poch and bring in a manager that also doesn't align with the squad, because then you're just going to have the same headbutting at the end of next season, because the coach is going to get frustrated that he's won, right? He's won before. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's not to say he's a bad coach. I don't believe Poch is a bad coach. I think he made a hell of a lot of errors, but he's not a bad coach just overnight. Might be outdated. We'll find out in the next job. But you can't truly judge someone 100% completely if you're not willing to give them their profiles. That's not to say that you give them their names, but you have to give them their profiles, which means they tell you what they need and then you go and get it. And that is something that people miss when we talk about Liverpool and we talk about other clubs that have this, director and manager model. Edwards may not have agreed with Klopp on the names like Julian Brandt and Mario Götze, but he understood his philosophy maybe even better than he did, and acquired and brought in players that matched it. He never brought in fragile players that couldn't handle the Gegenpress and the rock and roll. He never brought in only kids to tell you to have to develop and to develop everybody at the same time. He made sure that the players came in, even if it was a Wijnaldum, people will be like, that's a bit of a, he's only from Newcastle, it's not, but it made sense for the system. So if we're not recruiting for a way of playing, and we're just recruiting willy-nilly, we're never going to find an alignment, and we're never then going to actually be satisfied with what we're seeing on the football pitch, because the two are not meshing. Baba, welcome, brother. Welcome back. How are you taking all this in at the moment, bro?
I am not able to make sense of anything that's going on right now, because to be honest, if these owners or these directors, first of all, who are the people who want us to play a certain style of football, like the club wants a certain style of football. So who's the club right now? Like, are they the directors? Are they the owners? The recruitment, the fucking physios who want us to play that possession style of football. And
Maybe the journalists as well. Throw the
maybe
journalists
the
in.
journalist or the janitor lady, I don't know, like who wants us to play that possession style. Who are they? Who are the club? And why they have to decide what kind of football we have to play? The only kind of football I know is to win trophies. Does not matter what style of football you play. So, okay, if there is a philosophy that you want to inculcate in the club, fine, you might have your own ideas. But if you want to play possession style of play, then why do you splash 80 million on Mudrik, who's not a possession style player of possession style uh, football player, who's a very direct player? Okay, you've got some technicians in your team. You've got players like Gusto, you've got Enzo, Caicedo, all these players, but you're not willing to get a manager who does that, because Poch clearly made his team around Gallagher, what Matisse just said. So are the recruitment people are also being reviewed the way manager was reviewed, that you misprofiled the manager second time in 2 years, and you're not getting the manager that we want to play a certain style of football? And I can see a clear disconnect between the owners themselves, because the recruitment and the managerial appointment don't really make sense. And I personally feel that if we are to reach anywhere right now, we have to get extremely lucky with the new manager. Like, somehow the new manager is a gift from the heavens, and like he comes in and everything clicks with him, even with the interference of owners. And like, I was reading a tweet from CFC PYS. I don't know if it's true or not, that Pochettino's successor will have to accept the authority of the board and sporting directors with a control that could even stretch into elements of on-pitch coaching. I mean, how ridiculous is that? How
But
ridiculous
that's
is
what
that?
we're seeing, though, right, Baba?
Uh,
That's the like
Yes.
managers are parting ways with Chelsea Football Club, not because of footballing
Who
reasons,
would
not
want
because
to
of the
come in?
results. They're
Who would
getting
want to come in?
yeah, they're parting ways with the club because of non-footballing. I am convinced, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But I am convinced, if Pochettino, in the review, for instance, said, "My lord, I accept everything you bestow upon me. I accept everything." Regardless of where Poch finished in the table, they would not care, because he is in line. He is in line with their story. You could come 16th, for God's sakes, but as long as you bow down to them, you're in the job. I think this is what we need to clock. We are talking about this manager, that manager, this manager, what style of football. It
So,
don't matter to
Miss,
these
Miss,
owners,
M-
because these owners don't understand football.
Miss, if we finish again, let's say if we have another terrible season, we finish outside Europe and we finish, let's say, 8th or ninth this season with the
Sure.
new manager, with the manager of their choice, and that
Yeah.
manager does everything what they want of him.
Yep.
Do you think they'll keep that manager in the job?
100%. I guarantee they will. I guarantee they will, because that manager is less trouble for them. That manager is less maintenance.
But
What is
don't you
happened? What
think
has
that
happened with
that
Poch?
that comes down to the human level, like a man with a ounce of self-respect when he's questioned in the press conferences, like,
Sure.
you're struggling to get top 4, you're struggling to get top 6.
Yeah. I'll just say.
Won't he say anything like,
Ultima,
I've been given these set of players,
no.
I've been
Say
told to stay shut? So this
say
comes down
I'm
to the
Kieran McKenna.
self-respect on a
Say
human
I'm
level.
Kieran McKenna. Say, for example, I'm Kieran McKenna and I'm failing, right? I'm failing next season. I'm not doing well. And people are asking me all these questions. I'm just going to say, just stay patient. My football will turn good. Like, we're working hard. Like, I'm not going to go out there and just submit that I'm not good enough. I will never do that. I will say, look, yeah, I've got quality players. We're trying our best and we'll get there. To all the people in the live chat that don't believe this, you're honestly, soon you'll realize. Don't worry. I've clocked it. I've clocked where these owners are. You haven't clocked it yet, and it's a sad story that you haven't, because 2 years of mediocrity and you still haven't clocked where these owners are. They're willy-nilly just getting rid of managers, and you think the next one they're just going to stick with. The only way they're going to stick with it is if they stay in line, and it doesn't even matter about the results.
See, my
For
problem
me,
is
look,
sorry. Yes, yes.
No, I need to add. This is why we're going for the managers that we're going for. If we were going for any manager that has some sort of a reputation, 100% they won't last, because down the line there will be a clash. There will be a clash. But to answer your question, Drogbaba, yeah, if we got to a point where we finish next season, we're 8th or 9th, but we've got a McKenna or a Maresca that's just come into the job from the Championship. For them, in their heads, that's not a failure. Like, that's just okay. Look, that's a start.
Yeah.
We're going to take, but you put someone in with a reputation who knows exactly what needs to be achieved for them. No, I'm not having that. Like, this isn't good enough. This
But
needs
you know
to
what,
change.
though?
So that's why I think the expectation should not be the same, but depending on the manager that comes in, you have to alternate the expectation. Yes, as fans, we're supposed to expect top 4 challenges and competing competitively. But as a manager that doesn't know how to handle themselves in this league and don't know has never faced some of these oppositions, what do you expect them to do?
But that's the question, Javon. Why get them? Why are you playing with our expectations? Why are you getting them?
Listen,
No one asked you to get them.
So I was reading a comment in the chat that someone was addressing to Younes, that Younes, don't hate on managers that you have not seen play. Bro, we've seen time and again.
Wow.
Vincent Kompany broke all sorts of records with Burnley in Championship, and he could not handle one season of Premier League. And the
But
same,
you know what they will say, Baba? Oh, but he landed the Bayern Munich job now. He landed the Bayern Munich job.
his agent is doing an unbelievable job, bro. He's Chopu-moting of managers.
Not just that. Vincent Kompany was as Younes said, the 500th choice. They went through whole heap of big time managers, and they now come to Vincent Kompany because no one wants to manage over there.
See, again, the thing is, Bielsa could not do it 2 or 3 seasons into his management with Leeds. Leicester went down. Okay, there were other reasons for Leicester why they went down. But if you talk about Brighton being a mid-table team, when they were faced with European football this season, they absolutely derailed. Their season got derailed. Same with Newcastle as well. Newcastle, when they were in Europe this season, we have finished above Newcastle, right? So Newcastle, even with their squad, with their brilliant owners that they have and the investment that they've made, there are levels to this game that we need to understand. I'm again not hitting on McKenna. I have not seen Ipswich play. I have not seen a single minute of Ipswich. But the things that I'm seeing right now on the internet, okay, this is the build-up, this is McKenna ball, the build-up, the possession, this and that. Premier League teams don't allow you to do what you're doing in Championship. That is the thing that we need to understand. But for some strange reason, people are buying this idea of these young managers, and I don't know why this fetish of young managers. I mean, experience. You don't want experienced players. You don't want experienced managers. I don't know what they're thinking. I simply have no words to explain this.
The thing is, Zerbi and Maresca, who is being interviewed apparently for the job at the moment. I'm just going through kind of latest news. I don't know if this guy is how credible he really is, but he's one of the guys that are speaking a lot recently. Zerbi's still young, but Zerbi seems to have a mouth on him. Now, Zerbi, from a principle standpoint and from the fact that he's managed a lot of the previous players, well, the players that we have, the Colwells, the Caicedos, the Mudriks, he definitely wouldn't be keeping Sanchez. He probably would make a conclusion in preseason on Petrovic's ball playing ability and its improvement, and whether or not he's down for that. And the fact that he's worked with a lot of the directors as well, Sam Jewell, who came in, Paul and Stanley. You would think, like I said, that would be the obvious choice. I think he said he wants to stay in the Premier League. So I don't see how that is not the option, considering Silva's there reading the book. He's very innovative. The top managers have praised him. The Peps, right? He's bopped Klopp and Arteta off the pitch last season. He finished sixth with the fitness of the players and the quality of the pivot in McAllister and Caicedo. Again, this is not the option that I would have been pushing, but I would have at least understood how everything is joined up if you're going for that option, because now you're getting the football and you're getting the Premier League experience out of it as well. So you're not running so much of a trial. I think if De Zerbi's coming in, you can still maintain that you want top 4 and you want a trophy based upon that he got Brighton into 6th last season, the season before last, sorry. So, and I know Younes and Miz, you said earlier about, you know, if they finish 9th, but they shut up, they'll be fine. I don't even think that's true. I'll be honest. I think if you finish 9th, the pressure from the fan base on the McKennas, on the Marascas is going to be relentless. It's going to be a lot. People will say that they have the patience until they get slapped up to Arsenal 5-0, until they lose the games. And then obviously people's emotions will get involved, as they always do. Same with me, same with most. You know, it's very difficult to keep your emotions aside when the games are coming fast and you're losing matches. If they were to finish 8th or 9th or even 7th, you know, I don't think they would keep them, because I think they would get so much bad press and so much bad social media optics that they would, like with Graham Potter, they would sack them. You know, and then we'd be looking for someone else.
So they will not do this again.
Whoever
they did it with Potter, they will not do it again. They will not do it again.
But why won't they? If this person doesn't deliver a satisfactory performance,
but they listen to you. But they listen to you. They're good people. They're good manager. They listen to me. They don't kick up a fuss. They don't go to the media and downplay the owners. They don't backstab me when I'm not there. They want that type of a character. Matisse,
but
for them, I think we need to
what
clock
happened with
very
Potter,
quickly.
with Potter. It's the exact same thing that happened with Potter. And I said this before, said this on my platform. The only reason why Potter got fired was because of the pressure from the fan base.
Exactly. So what does that tell us? Yep. The owners would not have done anything with Potter if it wasn't for the fans. But here's the thing.
Fans are going to kick up again.
Exactly. But this time they will not do it. This time they will be like, no, we're not listening to you. We're not.
Why?
We're not. We listened to you once. We're not listening to you this time because you don't own the club. I own the club. You don't own nothing.
It doesn't matter, bro. If we are underperforming, people are not coming to games. You saw how many times under Potter, the back end of last season, we weren't even selling out the stadium. People were disillusioned. That has an impact. People, they will make that decision. They're not going to be so. They're not going to be so transfixed.
Bro, you're giving
with the
too
manager.
much credit to the owners.
No, I'm not giving them credit. I'm not giving them credit because if they sack another manager another year after 1 year, it's not a success. That's why I'm saying the directors need to be held accountable. If they get this appointment wrong and they hire this manager and then they sack him inside 1 year, then the directors should be held accountable. There shouldn't be this kind of over protection, this type of overprotection with the directors because they're bringing in scouted players or they're bringing in talent that Roman never used to bring in. Being a sporting director is not just about bringing in talent. It's not just about scouting players. If you want to just scout players, you just stay as a scout. Being a sporting director is a bigger role. It pays more and there are more requirements. And one of those requirements is aligning the manager with the squad that you're building. In fact, you are in charge of every single footballing activity at the football club. These guys are running the club. It's not Boehly is obviously overseeing it and he's the one giving the signatures, but these guys he has trusted to run the club. And if they are not running the club in a way that brings us up the table, then they have to answer for that because as much as we can say that if we finish 9th, no one's going to care, I completely disagree. If we finish 9th, we are missing out on European football. We are missing out on revenue. We are missing out on money that is hurting the pockets of the owners, just as it would if the fans didn't turn up at the stadium. That has to have its consequences. So the expectations are not going to be too different next season to if Pochettino stayed. And that is why you have to get this appointment right, and you have to understand that these managers cannot just come in and finish 9th. People are saying, oh, but if they finish 9th, you have to remember that Pochettino drew to Sheffield United and Burnley. If you finish 9th, I can promise you dropped points to teams that you shouldn't have. It's not possible to finish 8th or 9th, which is the hypothetical I'm giving, and not drop points to shit teams. You would have. And if that happens, the fan base will be pissed. These McKenna comps won't exist anymore. So if we're willing to bring this guy in, we have to understand that the standard from outside the club is not going to change after spending $1 billion. No one in the media, no part of the fan base is going to accept being outside of top European places. How many years into this project, right? It's just not going to fly. We can pretend like we are willing to take an 8th place Arteta finish, but we're not. We're not.
Quick question, Matisse. Quick question before the lads go, right? Matisse, honestly, from your heart, right? Don't give me some diplomatic answers now. From your heart, did you think at the end of the season, the one that just finished, did you think Pochettino probably deserved to stay for at least next season? Did you, like, the way we finished, we ended up coming sixth, or did you think he 100% he deserved to be sacked? From the bottom of your heart.
Bro, I was at a point with Pochettino where I'm gonna be honest, with the last 5 games, it's not 38 games. So I don't feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for the players.
You're missing my question. That's not the question that I've asked. Bro, you're talking about the entire 38. I'm saying at the end of the season, he finished sixth. If Europa League was going to happen, did you think that he at least deserved to stay maybe next season? I'm not saying I'm a Poch stan, but I'm just asking.
With the options they're giving us, I would have preferred to keep him, yes. But if you're giving me better options, I'm not keeping him because you're not.
But they're not giving you better options. Yeah, they're not giving you better options.
100%. But
so why did they get rid of him? So why did they get rid of him?
But Miz, let me give you this scenario. If you're earning 30k and you want a job that pays you 50k, right? But you don't have those job offers out there, but that's what you want. Are you wrong for leaving the job with 30k because you want the 50k? Which is effectively what we're talking about with the managers. No, you're not, right? Because you believe that over the course of the 38 weeks that you were employed, that you did a good enough job to make 50k, not to be making 30k next season with Pochettino, because he didn't show an identity for how many weeks, right? Or he wasn't, forget the identity. He wasn't using the players in the way and in the manner that we would have wanted him to, right? He was misprofiling players, late subs,
100%,
shocking results,
100%.
right? So
100%.
we were 10th, 12th for most of the campaign. We managed to go on a nice run, which has its own context to it. And to be honest, some of those teams could have even been on the beach. So we have to take that into context as well. At the start of the season, when people were playing for their lives, we were not playing well enough, right?
So who would you replace? As an owner, who would you replace him with? Someone better. Someone better.
Of course, someone better. Of course, you want to improve upon what you have.
They're not, Matisse.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that. But just because you as a fan are only you're not going to take a 20. We're not going to sit here and say we're going to take 20k. We was on 30k last year. We can disagree. It doesn't mean we have to accept. It doesn't mean we have to accept what we have just because we don't like what we're going to get. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just because we don't like what we're gonna get from these guys, it doesn't mean we have to say what we have is good enough. If we actually look at Pochettino's job last season and we don't believe that he's in line with the board, he wants to build the team around Gallagher, we're building it around Enzo, that is not a marriage that's going to last. He was probably going to get sacked next season anyway. He was starting to get disgruntled in the press conferences. He's chatting back. They're not working from the same song sheet like we've said before. So that is not going to last. You know he's going to get sacked next season. You know that. How is a Pochettino team going to look after they sell Chalobah and Gallagher? It's going to look worse. And we don't have a guarantee that they're going to replace those players effectively. So we may have got the best version of what we were going to get from Poch because he had his Gallaghers. So this is why we can't play semantics and say, because he finished the last 5 games, it means that next season was going to be a success. We don't know.
Guys, this back and forth with should Poch stay or not is complete fuckery. Because here's what. Over the entirety of the 38 game season, it was simply not good enough. The last 5 games or last 6 games, fuck that. It's just not good enough. So this back and forth between you two and the entire fan base, it shouldn't even be a discussion. Cool, they got rid of him. The real issue is why some of us, including myself, was hesitant. It's because of what the club is limited themselves to as opposed to getting the next manager, right? So it shouldn't matter if Poch left or not. Cool, it's done, gone. At this point, what we should be doing is trying to figure out who's going to come in next and if they're really going to hire one of these bullshit managers or one of these amazing managers, because it could go left or right? So this back and forth needs to stop. Poch gone. Leave that. That was the right decision, right? If it was a regular day and they were limiting themselves, everybody would agree it was the right decision. So leave that, let it be. Right? I have a list here. We have Enzo Marino, Enzo Maresco, Ruben Amorim, and Sebastian
Javon, man, life doesn't work like that. Life doesn't. Just because that was a right decision, if your consequent decision is a wrong one, your previous right looks foolish. Life doesn't work like that.
I understand that, but this is where then, because I'm coming from a point, it happened already. Poch didn't have a brilliant season. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. then now is where we say, okay.
I'm not losing sleep over it. I'll tell you
No.
this much. I'm no Poch fan, no nothing. What I'm getting upset about is your contingency plan sucks.
Yeah.
Your contingency plan sucks. You might as well self-destruct.
This is the point. The point, and I share this as well, because over a whole season, did Poch do brilliantly? No, right? But I honestly, when you look at the sequence of events and you look at how it all went down, right? There was a turning point, and when that turning point happened, what were the reasons, or what was going on? As far as I'm concerned, and look, this is my gut feeling, right? It genuinely looked like Poch just started to do things his way. Right? Started to change things and do things and speak in the way that he wanted to do things his way, right? Maybe to end the season because he knew he was gone. And look at, like I said earlier on, the reputation he's got now going into other jobs is actually better than it was, before, in terms of the way that people are looking at him from outside of Chelsea Football Club. But that's a story now that's happening because he's gone and he's going to do what he's got to do. But going forward, the options that are on the table are crazy. This is the problem now. We've gotten rid of Poch. Okay, we've gotten rid of Poch. You could argue if that was the right or wrong decision because, over a whole season, it wasn't good enough, right? But to get rid of him, to now justify that with having to go for a manager that's in the Championship or of that level, are we okay?
We're not down for that. But my point is on Poch, right, is that we all wanted him sacked at one point, right? He did make a turn in the last 5 games, but he has been so inconsistent over the season in terms of what he wants, what he says, and if he's with the board, without the board, aligned with them, not aligned with them, that I can't say with chest that what we saw in the last 5 games was going to continue into next season, because he has been changing his stance and how he operates, just like this, just like that. 1 minute he says, "Oh, it's fine. We're happy with the board. We're happy with the recruitment. We're happy with the players that we have in January. We're happy with Washington to back up Jackson." Then he doesn't use Washington, right? He puts Disasi at right back when he could have played someone from Cobham at right back. This is meant to be a young, long-term project. We don't see players playing in their natural positions to actually develop them in for the long term. I'm sorry, I can't sit here after wanting him gone and say that I miss him or I regret the decision, because he was too much in the grey zone. If he had gone into next season, I would not have complained. I would not have cried. However, it would have come with its risks, and I would have been concerned about what he does next season, because he's not shown this season that he has a plan that he's going to stick to, and he's going to actually lead by example, even with the team. Obviously, that's been a learning process for him as well. He's been literally allowing them to do all sorts of fuckery on the pitch. So for me personally, it's not about Poch, is more about the players, and I think people are more pissed that the players are angry and the players are upset, but it's now about who we appoint next, and that's why we all disagree. We seem to all disagree anyway about the risk that we're willing to take with the Championship managers. It's not done yet, but that's why I keep bringing up at least a De Zerbi, someone who has his principles in line, who knows how to work with a lot of the players we have. It's not perfect, it's not what I would have chosen, but at least it makes sense. It has to at least make sense.
But this is the thing.
What if they wanted De Zerbi from the get-go and all of this is a smokescreen?
Well, it might be, but Poch and this board don't make sense. And I don't believe in going into next season.
So the long and extensive process was wrong.
Well, clearly. And that's why I don't trust them to make the
appointment. So they don't know what they're doing.
That's why, bro. In every single video, in every single video title, did it not say Poch and directors? Poch and directors.
100%
tweet.
But these directors are still in the job, and they're being propped. They're being made to look like they're doing brilliantly.
Ain't nobody over here sticking up for directors. One thing I'm not going to do is arse-lick directors who have spent the amount of money they've spent, right? Continue to bring in an influx of young players, put people under immense pressure to develop those people at a record rate, and then say that there is no identity and no philosophy in the team. I do not agree with the extremism that is going on. You can bring in young players and you can bring in young managers that have experience. Elise versus Esteval is an example. One is performing already in the Premier League, putting up top numbers and could walk into that City team. The other one is an unknown quantity that has to adapt and needs to be stabilized. It goes exactly the same for the managers. You can bring in a young De Zerbi and know exactly what you're going to get, versus bringing in someone young, same age from Leicester, who is completely unknown at this level. My problem is that we continue to bypass the real issue here. If the manager and the directors are not agreeing, it is going to end sour regardless. And in terms of the playing squad, he was not in line with this team. And next season, people are saying, "Oh, if we give him 10 games, then we might sack him." I'm not down for that. If you're gonna keep someone for preseason and you're gonna try and give them their window and give them their profiles, you're not trying to sack them after 7-8 games based upon if the tide has turned. Oh, he had 5 games form, started the next season, we're not impressed, fuck it, sack him. Now we're in the manager hunt again with no preseason, no profiles looked out for that specific manager. Forget it. If you're going to keep Poch, you should have at least been saying, actually, I'm not only going to keep him next season, I'm planning to do the option for a third year, because I'm actually really trusting this guy and I really believe in him. If you don't really believe in a manager 100%, if you don't give 100% to something that you're going to commit to, it's not going to work. We all know this.
Why did they hire him? Why did they hire Poch?
That's
why did they hire Poch? No. You tell me why they hire Poch. Why?
Well, exactly.
Why are we having this conversation right now? They can't get along together. Didn't they have a 2-month interview?
They did. But that's why But now some people say it's their first appointment. Give them the slack. I do not trust their judgment. I'd be very real with that. I do not trust their judgment.
Exactly.
When it comes down to their appointment of Poch, and this is why I've really hated this time in between the sacking and the hiring, and it looks like it's going to go on for longer than I had anticipated. It was meant to end this week. The briefings and the PR, and people just gobble it all up. The slander, Pochettino this, Pochettino that, everybody just gobbles it all up. I love it. No, because when they're ready to do their propaganda for the manager at the beginning and they're ready to wax lyrical, we also have to eat that up as well. If you're going to just let go of a manager, I would rather we just do it in a classy, quiet way. There doesn't need to be 10 million journalists coming out trying to drag his name through the mud. It looks classless. And for me, it just screams insecurity. Yeah. No, it does, because if you're so hell-bent on swaying the masses and trying to convince people you know what you're doing, you probably don't know what the fuck you're doing. Just do what you need to do, hire who you need to hire, and shut up. I don't need 10 million journalists after a manager's been sacked talking about the fallout and why and how and da. Just move on with grace and with some sort of fucking dignity. You don't need to tell us what happened in this little fucking lunch meeting in the cafeteria and what was said here on December the 7th, 2023. I couldn't give a rat's bollocks. I want to know who the next manager is. Who does it align with the principles that you've set from the hierarchy, so I can judge you all accordingly? That is it. And for me, the directors should already be under pressure for the money they've spent, and then talking about expectations dropping next season, not even stabilizing. Not improving, not going up, dropping. We're talking about potentially expectations dropping because of the manager we're about to bring in. The directors, for me, should be under way more scrutiny than they are. Way more.
I completely agree. This is the thing. Mm-hmm. This goes to the point. Now it's the bread and butter, as far as I'm concerned, of the core of the problem here, right? Why is it that these directors are actually still in the job? They're actually being propped. 100%. Because they align with what the owners want of people below them. It's as simple as that.
Younes, they can fail. They can fail and they can stay in the job.
They'll be fine.
Do you see the point that I'm trying to say? You can fail and you can stay in the job.
End of story. Exactly. The manager has to fall in line with the same way. So it's the end of that. And if there's going to be a manager, which is why I am honestly thinking a Zerbi, right? A Zerbi, I don't think will come. Personally, in terms of his footballing style, his coaching, the way that he operates on the pitch is where I've got a few issues, because I honestly believe he's a bit one-dimensional. But when it comes to his issues off the pitch, look at the way it ended up. Why is he leaving Brighton? Because we've got to ask that question. Why is he leaving Brighton? And we heard what was going on back then in terms of the end of the season. Him and Tony Bloom weren't aligning. You think it's going to be rosy at Chelsea? It's not going to be. In fact, I think it'll be worse at Chelsea. If he couldn't get it on at Brighton, he wanted
more experience. He wanted experience at Brighton. He don't want no more kids.
Funnily enough, Poch towards the end wanted to send something similar. He's out of the door. He's gone. But we are trying to align with managers and directors that are going to just execute. You don't say anything. Execute. That's it. Shut up. You ain't got an opinion. Done. And that, for me, that's the core problem here. This is why we're in this predicament and we're having this this conversation today. I think it's down to that. I think that's the core issue. And whether a manager comes in, he's got an idea or he wants to do something, or I think that's secondary to everything right now.
And just
the fact
to
that
add
these
on-
directors are still in a job speaks volumes about the way that the club are operating.
And just to add to your point, when you say, and it's so ironic that we've gone from wanting to be really collaborative and everybody says their piece and we're all in a one WhatsApp group, which is what Todd Boehly was probably more involved in, right? With Thomas Tuchel and why he departed, to everybody shut up and don't say a word and come out of the WhatsApp group, because we are running the show here and you are just taking the orders. You're a head coach, you're not a manager. It's so crazy how we've gone from one end of the spectrum, which is so extreme, to the other side of the spectrum, which is so extreme. And
so let me ask a question.
The real reality is it needs to be something in the middle. I'm not asking for a manager to make all of the signings like Ten Hag and tell me he needs everybody he's worked with. No, I'm not asking for the manager to be completely in the dark and not know who the fuck's coming in the next day on the transfer window. And he just has to welcome them and say, sorry, what's your name? Oh, Leslie Okachuku. Okay, welcome to the club. And he didn't even know he was even put a bid in for, let alone signed. Like with most things in life, balance is required. You need to converse. You need to say, right, these are my profiles. I need these things to make the team function. These are the bare basics of how we are going to get a solid points total in the Premier League. We are weak on set pieces. We need to fix that, right? We don't have balance maybe on the flanks, whatever it may be. And then you go and find that person for them. You know, you go and find those people for them. To completely ignore all of that and just say, right, I'm just sending random people to the training ground that have talent and you just need to put it all together in quick time too. You know, it's a little bit mad.
Regarding the board, we keep going from one extreme to the other. I genuinely think that these owners, because it's a consortium, half of them are taking time to see what direction to take this football club in. One says, you know what, let's go with Pochettino, let's go with a bit of experience. That doesn't work. And another guy says, okay, given that doesn't work, it's my turn. There's no unity within this board, because it's the same thing when Todd Boehly just came in with signings. You wanted the big name star, you wanted the experienced people. To all of a sudden, one or two transfer windows later, we're signing 22 on average, 11 players. We're signing extremely young players for no reason. So it doesn't make sense to me how they're operating, and I think the reason for that is because it's a consortium. It's not one guy making the decisions, and then that trickles down to why they have a group of sporting directors. I've never seen this. I've never seen a club have multiple sporting directors with the same level of authority. Make it make sense.
So now, let's say we move past the whole Pochettino scenario. We got it out of our system, no problems. Okay, let's focus on the new gaffer that's going to come in. Whether it's McKenna, whether it's Maresca, whether it's Thomas Frank, whether it's Roberto De Zerbi, whether it's Amorim. The core principle, what we've learned from this talk today, is that the owners are just saying to the manager that all you're going to do is just go out there and train and develop the players. So let me ask you guys this. If that is the only remit of the manager, if the manager fails to deliver top four, why will the manager be accountable for it when his remit is only to develop players and just to look after the players? Shouldn't the board of directors and the owners sack themselves because you have made all the other decisions? Why should the manager cop your stupidity and lose their job? It should be the directors and the owner. Coming 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th is not on the manager, is on you, because you are controlling everything. You're not letting the manager do nothing. So this is the point that I'm trying to make, that next season you have set a precedent. You have set a precedent, and the precedent is you don't care what the manager actually has to do. And the results is on you as the directors and the owners. So if we fail and we want to protest outside of Stamford Bridge, I don't want to hear no manager out protest, because the manager is not culpable. So what are we going to do? We're going to be able to get the directors out at that point? Because I can guarantee you, whoever the manager is next season, it will be very, very difficult. This is not a Mickey Mouse league. This is not your, something like Bundesliga where Stuttgart can come in second. I'm sorry. Even Aston Villa needed a very, very good manager in the likes of Emery to get them to that level. And if the season had a few more games left, even Emery would have lost out on that top 4. So if you think that that Xabi Alonso fairy tale, yes, that's just around the corner for Chelsea, you're having a laugh, mate. You're actually having a laugh.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of people that underestimate just the level of the Premier League and what it requires. I think it's to expect a manager to come in of a certain level here. We're not talking about the ones that have been in the Premier League even. We're talking the ones about the ones from the tier below. To just expect them to walk into a club like Chelsea and then boom, top 4. That's the problem here. Because like I've said, my issue is if we miss out on next season, it's finished. We're done. And on top of that, we have to take one thing into consideration here. We're playing European football next season, whether we like it or not now. Whether it's Europa League or it's Conference League. More than the schedule now. You're going to try and bring up a championship manager and throw him into a European competition immediately. Your first season at Chelsea, we need top 4 and you've got a European competition to deal with. And it's not just about the Europa League. Don't worry, it's easy. It's the schedule. That's the problem. He's going to have to manage something he's never managed in his life before, let alone Premier League football. We're expecting these guys to get top 4. I wish I was as optimistic as some people, honestly. I think it's crazy.
Let me go through the super chats. I'll just fly through these and let's see if the debate continues here. Miguel says football is at a point where coaches with proven track records of coaching are basically being dismissed and people who have some success at substantially lower levels are being entirely believed in. Let's get Ten Hag from United. That'd be poetic. Jesus. If the new manager gets FA Cup and finishes 6th, are we accepting it as a W or an L?
If it's McKenna, I'm accepting that. Or Maresca, I'm accepting that. What am I going to expect from them? To finish 10th, I'd accept that. They've never even managed in the Premier League in their life. To get 6th and a FA Cup, of course, they'll be a legend of the football club.
I will take the mystery manager without knowing who he is after looking into the list. However, this team suits De Zerbi. He also worked with a number of the players, but he won't be standard required.
De Zerbi is coming in. I feel it. It's all a smoke screen. It's all a distraction. Because if it was De Zerbi from the get-go, we all would have been so riled up that another Brighton manager is coming in. But now that these names are being thrown in, the Leicester manager, the Ipswich manager, so De Zerbi makes... Yeah.
No, but see, I'm with Matisse on the De Zerbi factor. I wouldn't mind De Zerbi. I think he's got a set of philosophy, he's got a set of identity, and I think he can do a job.
Bro.
But my issue with De Zerbi is that he's not going to listen to the owners. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He's not going to align with them.
Yeah, now if you want a manager...
De Zerbi is a loudmouth. De Zerbi will say his mind, and that will get him into trouble. We have to realize these owners are not sacking you for footballing reasons. They're sacking you for non-footballing reasons. They sacked Thomas Tuchel for not replying in the WhatsApp. That's not a footballing reason. Last time I checked, that's a non-footballing reason. Thomas Tuchel didn't get sacked because of poor results.
Aaron
This
said
is
that. Go on.
so. This is why I think it's important to flip it sometimes, because there's people that, for that reason, tend to go, "Oh no, but then we got to just get a manager that aligns with exactly what the owners want." Right? What about the other way around? Why don't we explore the other way around? Why is it that these owners are all perfect and they know exactly what's going on and they're right in everything, when it could be when they get a manager in and they actually get an opinion from that manager that they're not willing to actually listen to what could be right from that manager? Why is it one-sided and not the other way? We can all be wrong. We've all been wrong. Why is it exclusive to these people at the top that no, It's their way, and they've got a line, and people got to fall in line, and that's it. I think it's mad,
No.
but that is how I see the club is being run, and that's what's scary. So,
Aaron says, I don't think the owners care or want top four.
Could just be
It's
PR.
more money to be in top four, so I'll be surprised if they don't care. We picked the wrong consortium. Sick of them. Not gonna lie, says Ahmed.
that's another thing. We got a consortium for the door.
Consortium's
As well.
never a good. Never.
There we are. That was
never
problem
a-
number one from day dot. But yeah,
because the way that was being articulated earlier and the way that Laurens and Marcotti are speaking is these guys don't even all agree with each other, which is a problem. There's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Exactly.
How are you gonna run something in one direction if everybody up there leading is not actually agreeing on the direction? The way Chelsea does business, I think Ted Lasso is the mystery manager. The owner's project is to make money and abuse Chelsea, says Andrew. Never thought I'd say this about Matt Law, but he calmed my anger down a lot by explaining what happened around Poch in the US-based podcast. Remember, he's also being briefed by the sources who want him to get the information he gets.
exactly.
So just because somebody in the ownership gave you the information of what happened, it doesn't mean that's exactly what happened. That's the version they want to give you for PR. So we have to be very careful about what is actually true and what is actually not true. And the problem is we're never going to know what's true because we're not there. But I do know that these guys are very, very PR heavy, very PR heavy.
Yeah, that's one really important point to put out to everyone. Like when we all talk, whether it's on here or on our individual this information that is been put out, it's not because to say, oh guys, look, this is the truth and what's happening. It's because that's just what's being reported. But you have to put it into your heads that what is being put out is what the club wants people to hear. What the club wants people to hear. That's something that you need to understand. We react to it because that's what's put out, but we react to it. It doesn't mean that it's, oh my God, that's absolute truth. It's what the club wants people to hear. That's something that you need to definitely.
And it's
definitely
very much
clear.
in these journalists, it's very much in their favor or it's in their best interest to report what the club want them to report because they're the ones that are going to give them the information and the work.
Exactly.
It's not going to be the managers. Once Pochettino leaves Chelsea, he leaves Chelsea. You don't know which club he's going to next. If he goes back to manage Espanyol, you're not going to get as many clicks off Espanyol as you're going to get off Chelsea. So the relationship to maintain is the Chelsea one, not the Pochettino one. So you're not interested in getting Pochettino's truth or his side of the story because his side of the story is not relevant because he's not going to give you a guarantee next year. Chelsea are. They'll give you the transfer news. They'll give you etc. We just have to bear that in mind. I don't know what's true and what's not at this point. Heard Bowie might be selling his shares. True. I don't think that's been reported. I just think it's something that people are like
ESPN. It was like an opinion.
Yeah, well,
I think
ESPN. It's something that is kind of like natural to talk about because if we believe that his power has been basically diminished and he has no say, then why would you want to be part of any entity where you have no say? What is the point in that? You know, you may as well just pack it up and go somewhere else. We can't say that because Potter was sacked, they will set expectations. These people are businessmen. Money in their pocket is the most important thing. As I've always said, the most successful way to make money is by being successful. If you are in the Champions League, you are making more money than if you're in the Europa League. It's just factual. So personally, I don't understand the method to not at least being in the Champions League. After that, cool. It's different maybe. But being in the Champions League is the bare minimum to make the most money out of football club. The sponsorships go up.
Ask Tottenham.
Huh?
Ask Tottenham.
I was just going to say, Younes, don't even worry about Tottenham.
No, but that's why. I agree. Like they want Champions League, and then that's it. They're done. Like that's it. We're done.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
But just to take it a little bit further to the panels, how much profit did Brighton make last financial year?
That was because of us. We need to.
You're welcome.
Into context. That's because of us.
Regardless, they sell players to many.
People like us don't come along very often.
Regardless, they sell players to many other clubs as well. But how much
They
did Brighton make last season? How much did Brighton make last season?
They operate in profits. Yeah.
What did we make last season? Minus 96 million.
Yep. Yeah.
I know the numbers. Brighton made 27 million in profit. We made minus 96 million in profit. Which clubs are in Champions League here?
None of them.
None.
None of them.
So this thing that Matisse is saying, which is true, you do need Champions League football to be making more money. But from a financial standpoint, it is flawed. You actually don't.
No,
You actually don't.
Tottenham-
All you need to do is flip players and low cost. Flip players, low cost.
Yeah.
And you're
But
going to be in the
isn't it-
profit.
But isn't it more advantageous to do that while being in the Champions League?
Of course,
If
it's
you-
advantageous. Of course,
wanna
but
do
that
that
costs
simply
money.
in the
But that
Champions
costs money. It costs money to be in the Champions League.
We spent a lot.
You're
of
gonna
it.
have to get-
It should
yeah,
really
you're
be
gonna have
al-
to
it
get
should be in there already.
Exactly.
You're going to have to get proper players. You're going to have to spend a lot more cash.
No, they spend
have
$1
to
billion. What?
Yeah, but they're spending $1 billion on more products, not
To me,
quality products.
to
But what
me,
they
when
call-
they
they
come
call
out,
them
when they come out to
assets.
this, when they come out to these owners, common sense is not common. It's not, this just doesn't add up. Anyway, you want to slice a cake, it's fuckery, and I'm tired of it. It's
Put it this way.
foolishness.
Put it this way, Javon. If they really want a Champions League, they've had 2 seasons to do this. Why have they persisted by keeping Poch for so long last season when all of us were saying after the Wolves game, get rid of the guy, get in someone who can potentially do something. Now people are going to say, oh, but financially, don't give me no financial bullcrap because these owners are very smart. They're selling hotels. They're selling the training ground. You think they're worried about 10 million payoff? They're not worried about that. If you wanted to get Champions League, you should have sacked Poch in December.
This is all a shit show. I miss the days when all I had to talk about was the football.
Reese says, "Hey, Matisse, huge fan. Poch was never the right man, which is on the owners, no doubt. I think we have to accept that we have fumbled and rushed this process, but we'll now commit to the next man, regardless of where we are next season. I don't believe we're going to commit and stay long term to any manager until I actually see it, because it's all good and saying it now when the kind of prop for the managers that you supposedly want is flying around and everybody in the ownership is gassed on, you know, the next guy coming in. They're going to back them, support them, love them. I can't wait to work with you guys. This is the best partnership ever. And then when we are going through tough times and when we are really struggling and the pressure increases, are they actually going to be able to keep them in their job? You know, are they going to be able to say, actually, no, I really do want to keep this guy? I don't even look that far ahead. Are they even going to build the team for the guy that they're bringing in? That's more important than what I even just said. And until I see that, I don't believe it personally. I don't believe it because there's just too much stubbornness going on right now in terms of no one's willing to take any accountability for what's going on. It's just always blame game. This is the only person it could possibly be about, and everything else is fine. Which is why next season, injuries shouldn't even be a problem because apparently it's Poch. So if it is Poch next season, I don't want to hear shit about injuries.
There needs to be zero injuries.
I don't want to see I don't want to see no 10, 11, 12 injuries out on a match day. I don't want to see nobody disappearing and not coming back for months with no reason why.
100%.
I don't want to see no rehabilitation. We should have a normal amount of injuries because apparently it was the manager's training methods. That's what people are saying. So next season, there is no asterisks on the £1 billion squad not being utilized properly. The only players that might get obliged is the Chilwells and maybe the Fofanas, the players that were already injured before Poch even got here. And those players are predated back to their previous clubs or previous ownership or previous managers. But the players that we have signed, the Lavias, the Okachukus, I don't want to see no injuries at this level, at this scale. If I do, then there must be a deeper issue, which must be the medical team. And then we have narrowed down the problem here. So, you know, and who's in charge of the medical team? The footballing directors. The directors of football, the sporting directors are in charge of all sporting activities. Your job is not just to scout. Scouting, performance, fitness. You're running a sports institution. Fitness is a massive part of that. There's no point running a sporting institution and having shit fitness. So the fitness is your responsibility. If I open a gym and the machines don't work, what the fuck are we doing here? The machines might cost a lot. The machines might look nice, but the machines don't work. So what are you going to fix that? Or are you going to just listen? I got one more person to bring on. I don't know if you remember him from the Big Six. It's Robert, brother.
Robert!
Oh my God.
Come true, bro. Come true.
The people said, bring balance. Balance.
Come true, bro.
Balance is in the building. You want balance? You got balance. Balenciaga.
Oh, we're gonna have some fun now. We're gonna have some fun.
Brilliant.
Nah, big up, man.
We got
I'll get
Robert.
back to the super chats in a minute.
Robert, go on, bro. What's up, bro?
Nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm chilling. Nothing
Talk
much.
to me, Robert, man. How
Yeah, pleasure
how
to
are
be
you
here.
feeling about the situation at the football club? Because I know you was a massively against Poch.
Yep.
You really don't rate him, probably less
No.
than anyone I've ever seen, to be honest. So talk to me about this shortlist, man.
No, I mean, just from the look of it, the shortlist does not look impressive. Based on based on what we know historically, that when you sack a manager of, let's say, Poch caliber, even if I don't rate him, I know he's rated around football world. You would, it's customary that you bring somebody at least of the same credential, if not better. But the ones that we're picking do not have the same CV or resume as Poch does, which I see can make a lot of people feel unease. But I think the whole landscape of football is changing. That now it is the young manager. It is, everything about football now is data driven. Every big club that you have, AC Milan just fired the coach, probably gonna hire a younger one. And I know people have overplayed the company playbook, that he's young as well. Everybody is hiring a somewhat lesser experienced coach than the one that they had before. Even Liverpool, Slot is not as experienced as Klopp. But from a data standpoint, when Liverpool people said we did our due diligence and he scores high on our data sheet, that's what football is going to from a player recruitment standpoint and from coaches. And if these days young coaches are the ones that rely mostly on data, and they're the ones that suit better with a lot of direction that a lot of clubs are taking, and that's gonna be it's just something we're gonna get comfortable with. Now are there gonna be some hiccups along the ways? Yes, but it is the landscape of football that's changing, and that we gotta get we need to get comfortable with. I think United is gonna sack Ten Hag here in less than a week. Chances are they're gonna go for young manager. We're gonna go for young manager. Liverpool has a young manager. Arsenal has a young manager. That's just the landscape of football, whether we like it or not. The coaches such as Poch or Tuchel or them and them, the market is not gonna be as great as it was 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, you see Tuchel is sacked. Tomorrow there's a job open for him already. Now that's no longer the case. It's just a landscape of football now.
When you say, Robert, young manager, can you define what young manager? What is the definition of young manager in your perspective? Age, experience, what is it?
Yeah, young manager from my perspective, obviously, is somebody that has less experience, as a coach, as a manager of a football club, but that has shown the ability to kind of perform, above the basic level. Okay, like whether we like it or not, McKenna is performed above the basic level. The coach of Enzo has performed above somewhat the basic level, and that is the young coach that I'm talking about. Young and upcoming. Maybe he's been an assistant for a while, and now is ready to step into management themselves. And they are, as I said, quite data driven. The coaches these days.
Okay, so taking that into consideration, whether it's McKenna or Maresca, right? Young, inexperienced. Do you think it's wise to take over a big club like Chelsea and then also expect, some level of results next season? Because as Matisse has said, as other panelists have said, we want to make it back into Champions League next season. Do you think it's fair to put that level of expectation on a manager that has never managed in this level And yes, Championship is a good level, but Premier League is beyond, way beyond Championship. Do you think it's fair that a manager of that caliber comes into the Premier League and should be expected to make it into Champions League football, or you don't expect Champions League football?
Oh no,
Position.
I expect Champions League football and possibly winning the Europa League. That's my
Is that fair?
expectation.
Is that fair on a young manager?
Absolutely fair. I
From the
don't see that. I
Championship.
don't see why that's unfair. You have an absolutely talented squad.
Wow.
I don't see why that's unfair.
Robert, we've had this discussion in playback before.
Yeah.
Brother, you cannot the way what you're saying to me is you have this squad, you build the squad first, and then you go out and get the manager, and then despite whatever all else happens, you will never tailor the squad to what the manager needs to make it successful. Right?
That's not.
In your opinion, we've had this discussion before. Don't backtrack now.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, you said to me this squad is talented, so we just need to find a manager to get the best out of the squad. We're on our 5th manager. We can't keep going down this route. So, to Mrs. point, if a manager comes in that has never done it at this level before and has never managed in the Premier League consistently, you cannot then put that level of expectations on them, especially with a brand new squad. If you give them this season and right off this upcoming season, next season, then you can give them that expectation.
Yeah.
Because they would have built a baseline with these players. If it's an experienced manager that has been there and done this, then that's when you go to them and say, it's top 4 or bust.
Correct.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the level of talent in the squad.
Let me ask you a question. Are we all in agreement that Poch did a poor job this season?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. He did a poor job, and we finished 6th. How many points were off top 4?
10?
What?
6.
Do we have 5 points off top 4?
8.
No,
8.
5 or 6.
Let me
Oh,
double
5 or
check.
6. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I thought it was about
So
10.
that's with a manager
was-
that performed. That's with a manager that performed poorly.
5.
Mhm.
If we get a young manager that can do just slightly above that, we're in top 4.
No, because
Who's-
you're skipping above all type of interest that word. First of all, we shouldn't be finishing 6th. If it was leagues of past, we wouldn't be able to get top 6 with 63 points. So let me just get out of the way. Secondly, this is with an experienced manager. We got 6th with an experienced manager. You're telling me someone that doesn't have the experience is going to get us higher? But that top chat for me. Sorry, it's not playback. It just doesn't make sense. It just don't make sense.
No, he's an experienced manager, but we're all in agreement that he did a quite poor job. We can name tons of young managers in the Prem that did a way better job than Poch did, right?
And
Gary-
came fourth?
Gary
And came fourth? And came fourth?
No, that performed.
No, give me a manager. Give me a manager in the Premier League, young manager that came fourth.
No, I'm not saying that came forward. I'm saying that performed at least at the level of the squad.
No, but we want to come fourth, Robert.
Yes.
Let's stick to the point. We want to come fourth. I'm
Yes,
not
we
here
wanna-
I'm not here for a manager that does well and comes 7th because previously they were in the championship
No, I
and now
agree.
they're 7th. They've done better. I'm not
And
really
even-
here for that business.
And even if
Tell me a
and
manager
even-
that has come fourth and has that youngness about themselves. Give me a
Is it-
and also a young
but you
team.
see,
A young team.
You are missing my point. My point is we had an experienced manager who is experienced in coming fourth in this league with a talented squad, but he couldn't come fourth because his performance level were below the level required to acquire, even with his experience in the Prem and his experience with coming fourth in the Prem. He couldn't do it. So just experience and the fact that you've come forward in the Premier League does not guarantee you that you're going to come forward.
But you're missing the point. The point from everybody here is the expectations going on to that new manager. That is the point. Screw everything else, right? The expectation should not be there for someone who's never done it before. That's my problem. If you want to put expectations and be steadfast in it, Go get me a manager that's been there, seen it, and done it. Then I can say, brother, you've done this before. What the fuck happened? Then
Robert,
I can definitely say at the end of the season, leave because you failed us.
Robert, is there anything, before I go back to Super Chats, is there anything you give Poch credit for last season, or do you think he just completely, in all facets, just underperformed?
Maybe
you don't have to lie.
Not holding Palmer back. Maybe, Jackson improvement. His temperament toward the end of the season. Less yellow cards. Maybe. Other than that, I think every facet of the job, I just think he was very poor, very, very poor in my opinion.
All right, let me fly through some super chats. We'll get back to this. Mystery Man is CR7, assistant Lukaku. I think we got a bit of an echo. Maybe I have to mute. Who is it? Me? Okay, might be Robert. All right. The owners care about image. Look at the daily PR. Heard some mind-free fans saying Poch is the reason for the injuries. Was Poch also the reason when we had the most injuries? 48 under Potter. Hate makes us blind. We're gonna find out next season. That's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing. I didn't like the context. I would keep the 30k job until I know I have the 50k job one in hand. Else possibilities of remaining jobs at end. I agree with you, but I would have assumed if you're ending by mutual consent that you have your successor lined up. As Ms. said before, we don't want to get into a situation where we're just like Bayern Munich and we're just going through 10 managers or 11 managers. I would expect you before I would have expected you to have done your due diligence and to know who you want next. That's why the shortlist is like
have that in place, and then if you have your guy and he changes his mind or he rejects you when previously he said he would come to you, okay, cool. Maybe you can't quantify for that. Then you have to go through your shortlist, but you should have your guy. You should have your guy. Look at what these clowns have done to us. Never have I seen the fan base this divided. Unbelievable how far we've fallen with these clowns in charge, says Roman Abramovich. The players were happy with Poch. That's the important thing. Who is to say they will be okay with any of the managers Poch built some credit to stay, in my opinion? Like I said before, I do feel for the players the most because they're the most important thing. That we've spent so much money on them that group, bar a couple tweaks in and out, that core have to work out. Because if they don't, and we have to do a flip, well then these directors are fucked because I'm not trusting them with another billion. If these players are not generational and they're not the right scouted players, and this group are not as talented as we think they are, and they don't amount to anything, and I mean challenging for trophies, that is the expectation at the end of all this, by the way, not top fours, not challenging for trophies and picking up silverware, because that's what these players are meant to be capable of. If they're not, then these directors have done an awful job with the money given to them. These rubbish options don't justify Poch's sacking. Sorry, Miss.
Yeah, just quickly, because the live chat's like, Ms. Lampard did it. Let me give you an answer about that. Lampard did it. Of course he did. Yeah, young manager, he did it. Where's Lampard now? Where's Lampard now? So what does that mean? That's an anomaly. I don't want a manager that gets me one season in top 4 and then he disappears in the abyss. Lampard did it once and then he's gone. That's not the point what I'm trying to make here.
You didn't even have to go through that. He didn't, going into when Lampard came, he was still an unknown. That's the point.
The thing is,
because hindsight now is a pitch. They're going to look at hindsight and say, "Oh, Lampard did it," because you can see what happened. When Lampard got appointment, no one was comfortable with Lampard.
The thing with a Lampard or any of these ones that have played in the game to a high level, at least understand the dynamic at the highest level, at least. From a dressing room standpoint, from the managers they've worked under, they've played for, or even someone like Lampard who's played at the highest level, right? There is at least an understanding there. And the circumstance that he got away with when he did get fourth was we had a transfer ban. We couldn't move, right? Everyone was on the same page and going, okay, look, we're flipping banned. Like, all right, Lamps, go and do your thing with the academy, though. And because he's Frank Lampard, and it's Frank at Chelsea, that's royalty, right? He got and done what he done. When it mattered after that, where did we end up? 9th. Tuchel came in when we won the Champions League and everything got steered. So I honestly, with that at least. But when you're looking at these championship managers, they've not even at least played to a level. You know, you look at a Xabi Alonso or even Arteta to an extent, or these guys that have at least a remote understanding of what that level of football is like, right? McKenna's never been there. Maresca's never been there. These guys have never been there. And we're going to rely on them to get us top 4.
And Younes, how long did it take?
I think it's mad.
So we're looking for the next Nagelsmann then, I guess.
Yeah.
And we could have got Nagelsmann, but why didn't we get Nagelsmann?
Because he said, "I don't understand the funny project."
But that's what I'm talking about with the extremism. There are young managers that have at least shown something in at the highest level that you could have gone to, and you could have still done similar with your. But then with Nagelsmann, he wants what he wants, right? And
exactly,
if you're not going to have Christopher Vavell with him because Christopher Vavell leaves because you've obviously sided with these guys instead in terms of say so and power, then you're not going to be able to line up the director and the manager. But in hindsight, if you had maybe lined up Vavell and Nagelsmann, you could have still had your project. You could have still had your experience from multi-club model who have done RB Leipzig, Salzburg, Red Bull in America. You could have still had your long-term project and your developing of young players, but you would have had people that have the experience doing it at a high level. Someone that's managed at Bayern, somebody that understands the pressure of winning, and someone who's done it with the best multi-club model that I have seen to date. So even more successful than Man City's, if you want to actually go through the quality of the clubs. So that's why when I talk about their ideologies, the extremism and the gravitation to people that are not only young, but are also inexperienced in being young in terms of this field. It's like hiring someone that just came out of uni, as opposed to hiring someone that is still 24, still young, but really graduated super early, fly through all of their degrees super early, has maybe 3 years experience, but they're still young, but they at least have some sort of weight to what they're saying. And in regards to players, immediate respect, because I've been there and done it. So don't talk to me. I've won things, and I've managed at a high level while still being, but consistent with what you want. So we can see what you want if it works to the highest degree. That's all I'm saying, man. Like this is why I keep bringing up the Esteval. I even say the brother's name. My voice is going.
Esteval.
This is why I keep making the comparison. You've got, and again, Esteval might be generational, McKenna might be generational, but you're going so extremist on someone that you don't know how they're going to translate, as opposed to someone who's still young, still talented, still makes you profit, still is going to be way worth the 60 million release clause that is currently there, still has but they have experience, but they're ready to do it now, but they've been there and done it in the league, or they've been there and done it at a top team, as opposed to Nagelsmann. I just don't feel like it needs to be this extreme. And then when Younes says, why is it this extreme? It's because of the chat back. It's because of the talk that comes with the experience. If you have any chest in what you're saying or what you've done, you're going to have some bite back. You're going to have some lip, because you believe that you're highly qualified in your field. You've been there and done it. So you have an opinion. If they don't want people with an opinion, it's because they haven't accomplished anything of note to give them an opinion. And they're just happy to be there. The players, the manager, it goes from top to bottom. Happy to be there because, hey, I have no experience, so why would I say anything?
Blind and leading the blind.
Blind leading the blind.
There you go.
But I think this whole, since the new ownership came in, bar the first window, I think what has been done is something that people haven't seen in football, which can make people quite uneasy. Okay, at first it was just he has no plan. We're just doing a scattergun approach. We're just buying whoever we can buy and whatnot. Now people can say, okay, I can see what you're doing, even though I might not agree with it, even though everybody does not agree with it, but at least everybody can see that there was a plan. Okay, now if you're able to analyze it from that summer, from last summer, you can clearly see there was a plan in place. It's just that it was a plan that people weren't used to. Okay, and I think even in the managerial search, it is something that people are not used to. So people are automatically, are gonna be uncomfortable with it. But I remain adamant that if you just step back and take a little bit of our Chelsea fan emotions out of it, and you look at the plan and you look at what they've done, what they've tried to accomplish so far, you look at it objectively, you can see that there is a plan in place.
Robert,
I get the managerial search. Okay, he hasn't been great so far. They've not proven that they can select a competent manager. But from the hiring of, especially these sporting directors of Poch, I could see why they went for Poch. With track record with young players, how his man management of young players and whatnot, I can see why they decided to go with him. But it's just that it just happens to be that his method, his training method, his coaching style and whatnot is a little bit outdated. But I can see the reason why they went behind Poch.
Yeah, but Robert, just to come back on this point, because some people are mishearing me maybe in the chat. Let me explain. I understand that Mourinho, Conte, Allegri are not the options. I have never uttered these names out of my mouth once. I'm talking about young managers that have at least credibility at the level that we are trying to be at. So you're not taking such a big risk, or you're taking less of a risk. Nagelsmann and Zerbi are both younger, and I'm not even putting them at the same level, but they're both younger than Thomas Frank. So what is the reason for Thomas Frank being on this shortlist at 50 years old, and the manager that I've just named is Zerbi is younger by 6 years? What's the why Thomas Frank and not Zerbi? I want people to understand the difference between the two, because I'm not talking about old managers. I'm not talking about dinosaurs. I'm talking about managers that are new, that are innovative. They play a nice brand of football in Zerbi. I am talking about new managers, right? He's 44. Is that not young? That is young, no?
It's simply because Thomas Frank doesn't back chat. That's what it is. Roberto De Zerbi will back chat. This is what we need to understand. This whole age factor, it's another one of those new phenomena they're throwing at us. It's age. It's whoever can listen to them. That's what it comes down to.
And if you're going to go with youth and some form of experience, Ruben Amorim is 39 years old. He's the youngest you can get out there with some level of experience. So when it comes down to them selecting a manager, it's not just age. They have a whole list of things that needs to be checked off for them to select their manager. Well, and when it comes down to this mystery manager, I think the mystery manager is going to get the job. So all of this talking, they know who they're going to get. Because this running around makes no sense.
Now listen, and also on the point of football's heading in a certain direction, some in the chat that are saying this is just the way that football's going in. And well, in that case, if we want to be revolutionary and we want to be edgy, all right, why don't we just go to Elon Musk, or we go to Google, we go to Boston Dynamics, go and look up what Boston Dynamics do. If you don't know them, go and Google them. And we just ask them to make the latest robot to come in and just manage this football club. You know, the best that AI can offer. We might as well do that. We're ahead of the curve. That's where it's going to go.
No, true talk. Why stop here? Go all the way.
Go all the way.
Be the industry leader.
Why can't Fabregas be on this list?
No, good point. Good point, Matisse. Why can't he be on the list?
He just got promoted, right? But he's also understanding the intangibles of being at Chelsea, first and foremost, and also playing at the highest level. Where's Fabregas? Bro?
Is he not a yes man? Is he not a yes man?
He was at the training ground a couple of weeks ago. Bring me Fabregas, man.
Is it because Fabregas last season, when we were losing under Graham Potter under the new ownership, he said, "This is not about
how many games you've managed. It's about your ideas and your principles. Can we get this into our heads? It's not about how many games, because if we go older, we manage more games. All I'm interested in is, has he got his coaching license? Is he proper Chelsea? Yes, ticking 2 boxes now, right? He's going to be with the fans as well. And he has principles and he has style. So I don't really understand why he's not on the list.
I
No,
see
but-
here that,
You should
that
be.
they want him to be a part of the next coaching staff.
Matisse, now let me ask you a question. If we were to hire Fabregas, would that give you more confidence? Of
No, I'm
finishing
being
top four?
sarcastic. No,
He's
I'm
being sarcastic, Robert. Robert,
Nah,
yeah.
Yeah.
killing me, bro.
You're in a different planet, Robert, bro.
You had your serious face on, so I thought you were being serious.
Nah. Sorry, I'm just joking around.
You need to listen to the
Robert,
tone.
speaking facts, football is moving this way. Andrew says only Miz and Younes understand the real issue. It doesn't matter who the manager is because whoever it is will be handcuffed by the owners and directors' instructions. I think you are all missing what these owners are doing. They are all trying to sell a story. Remember that Cole Palmer ? And this manager issue is the same. Also, with this shortlist, have anybody even gone into the fact that these managers are managing squads that may be more balanced in terms of experience with youth? And how does that translate to managing a squad with predominantly youth?
We don't do that here.
I'm just asking. That's not even a joke question. That's a serious question.
No, I said-
Because to manage a balanced Ipswich team, a balanced Leicester team with some experienced players who can take
Very good
information
point.
in quickly,
Very good
and young players like Amari Hutchinson that might take a bit more time and off the bench, and a balance is very different to managing an entire team with mainly young players, and will continue to add more young players and trying to give that information to them. You might try to teach the same subject to two different people, but one takes it in quicker and the other person takes it in a lot slower. It doesn't mean that you're a bad teacher. It just means that you're dealing with two different people. And that's why in a classroom, you need smart people and dumb people. Because if everybody's dumb, if everybody's stupid, it's going to take a lot longer for me to get through the subject. You know what I'm saying? So, this is also something that, that maybe needs to, I hope is being accounted for. I don't know. I'm just hoping. These directors have already crossed the threshold of sackable offences. They must be dealt with now, not next summer. Draw up a short list of directors. My thing is very much similar to the Marina and Roman partnership. I think when you trust someone in business or in work, it seems like that trust is very much unwavering, and it's very unlikely that you're going to see a change in those directors unless something catastrophic happens. I might have to mute you, Robert, just because of the echo. Company to Bayern, Motta to Juve, McKenna or Frank to United. Times are changing, says Miguel. What do you think, Younes company at Bayern? I think did you mention that already? Did you speak on that already? Yeah, we sort of spoke on that already. It's just an old one. If Flick goes to Barca, would you take Xavi? I know Miz was a big fan of Xavi before. Would you take Xavi, Miz?
Yeah, I would. But he look at the way he talks in the media.
Yep.
Against Barcelona.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
He won't last 5 minutes.
Look at the way he talks about Barcelona. You think he'll care about Chelsea?
But this is the thing. Do you see how much the pool of managers shrinks if we start talking about people that have a voice?
This is the point that I was trying to
Exactly.
and Younes as well. This is what we're trying to drive. The quicker we realize it's not about what a manager can bring to the football club. The number one question: can you shut your mouth and know your role? And if that is a categoric yes, what I really need to hear this, Robert. Why do you disagree with that? I really need to hear this.
I slightly disagree with that.
No,
I think
slightly or heaps. Because if it's slightly, I don't want to hear it.
Okay, I disagree with that. I think if you what you chatting backs up what you bring into the table, then they will hear it. If you're underperforming and chatting, then that causes an issue. But if you are doing well and you are producing results, I think
Can I ask a question?
Robert, can I just let me just I have to make this point. If I show up to work and I tell my boss to do my job, right? I need a pen, I need paper, and I need a computer. And my boss tells me, no, you don't. You only need a pen. And I say, no, I need paper with that and a computer. And he says, no, you only need a pen. And then we go into the season with a pen, right? And then I underperform in my job because I only have a pen. when I told him I needed paper and computer. And then he tells me, no, I don't care. You said that, you said you needed all these things, but I gave you a pen. And why didn't you do you see what I'm saying? Like, you have to listen, bro. I'm not saying that the manager's allowed to scream in the press conference and out them publicly, but that's where it gets to if you don't listen behind the scenes. I don't think because people said Thomas Tuchel was someone that you can't work with. And then now people will say Xavi you can't work with. And suddenly now everybody just becomes, you can't work with them. But my question is, are you listening to them in the first place? When they're telling you what the situation is behind the scenes and what is needed, are you listening? Because I'm not going to sit here and say Bayern Munich and Barcelona and PSG, we can even add to this list, are being run at the best level possible, considering the way that things have been going for them in the last couple of seasons. Are you listening to the people that you are hiring that are qualified to do the job that you've asked them to do? Are you listening to them? If you're not going to listen, then you're never going to learn. And I'm certainly not going to say that this ownership is incapable of listening when they've achieved absolutely nothing in this sport. You are definitely going to listen. And at least hear people out who have achieved things in other institutions that have been successful. And if you're not going to do that, and then you're going to hire people from institutions that are not at our level and have never been successful, and then you're not even, and there's no point listening to them, then as Javon always says, it's just the blind leading the blind. And maybe the blind will actually make it home. I'm not saying that you won't. There are pavements with, special footing where you can feel but it's very unlikely. It's very unlikely you're going to make it home because not everything is accessible. Do you know what I'm saying? Not everything is built. So it's unlikely you're going to make it home, but you might. And I'm not here to do mights. You know what I mean? I would rather up the percentages, Robert. Would you not rather up the percentages, or would you rather just take the full gamble on every single level at the club?
To use your analogy, if I get hired into a company, and automatically from day one, I start making demands instead of actually performing in the job that I was hired for. Once I have performed in the job that I hired for, once I have excelled in the job that I've hired for, then I could stick up my
So you're gonna
hold on, Robert. I think you're missing the point.
You need a computer and internet access, and I've only given you a pen. How are you going to excel at the job?
Matisse, you don't have to give examples. For a company to expect you to hire to perform in a job when they hire you, they have to provide facilities for you to be able to perform in your job. Perfect example. They have to with sticking with the same analogy, they have to train you on how they operate in that specific business. Now, fuck the analogy. Let's talk about actual football. If I, as a coach, is starting a season and I go to the manager, they hire me. These are the crop of players, and I said, brother, based on this league and what I've experienced, I need a more experienced striker over the 38-game season. I cannot just go in with a young striker. They said, no, this is good enough. Start the season, make it happen. Let's say I'm just miss out on top four, and I miss out, and I have a great defense, and I miss out on top four because I drew a couple games. I am then at the end of the season going to go back and say, see, this is why I said I needed that experienced striker. Because those games that I drew 0-0 or drew 1-1, that experienced striker would have got me that extra goal. The experienced striker would have got me that extra 3 points. So what are we doing here? Versus if you go with someone who doesn't have the experience, then you can say, you know what, you don't have the experience, take the squad, run with it. You see the difference now?
I get your point. I totally get your point. But I think when you're stepping into a squad like the one we have, and the expectation is win top 4 and get top 4, get top 4 and win Europa.
That's what the owners got you thinking. There you go. There you go, Robert. They got to you. They know you are the brand ambassador. Win top 4. Yep.
No, but, so the point I'm trying to make is they can look at the squad and say, well, with this same squad, if we had just done a little bit better last season, top 4 was definitely possible. So you have the tools to achieve top 4. Now, if we say, okay, now you've achieved top 4, now we're talking about winning the league, and you say, well, I need an experienced striker, I need a high-level goalkeeper, a high-level this and that, then we can open that can of worms. Liverpool just hire Slot simply as a coach. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be. As maybe I misread his job. He's not gonna be involved much in recruiting. I don't think Liverpool fans are expecting Liverpool to perform at the same level that they performed this season. I don't think they are. but they're not up in arms about it because they know the coach they've been hired for. What the job is gonna be doing is not gonna do better than what Klopp did. And the comment about it. Us, we have a coach that underperformed this season. The only thing we need is to have somebody that can at least perform we're not asking you to exceed expectation. We're just asking you to perform at an average level that this squad can perform. Not underperform,
but
just perform at
a manager
normal
that
level
doesn't
this
have
squad can reach.
experience, a manager that doesn't have experience, the average level is not to finish top 4 in this league. That's that. Do you understand that? Do you understand the average level for an unproven manager is that he's finishing 5th or 6th with Brighton?
I don't get this obsession that you need to have prem experience. You need to have this experience. The point is
you don't need
the coach,
but it helps.
Exactly, absolutely. There you go. Perfect. It helps, but it's not required to make to get the best out of the players that you have. You know, having prem experience is not required to get. Emery didn't have prem. Emery had a little prem experience when he came, and he got the Aston Villa.
You can't use
we're not transfer.
No.
You're more. Can I just say you're more likely to have teething problems in the Prem when you're in regards to opposition, in regards to, because it's not just about us, it's about the opposition as well, right? And knowing those teams and knowing the strengths and the weaknesses and understanding the intangibles of the Premier League and the way that it works, the pace of the game, etc. You're more likely to have teething problems and get off to a slower start if you have not been here before. Because if you've been here before, you've got your homework already done from previous years. Pep got off to a slow start in the Prem. He finished 3rd. But we know Pep is capable of winning the league. So the expectation when Pep came in is probably win the league in your first year. Conte did it, right? However, maybe Pep took a little bit more time because he's trying to set a philosophy, an identity, something longer term, which is what you're telling me we should be doing. But you need to account for the time that might take. And my point is that I'm going to ask you, if we don't make top 4 next season, which is the expectation because of this squad, who are you going to blame? Are you going to blame the manager or are you going to blame the directors for not making top 4?
Directors. Absolutely.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Okay. All right. At least we're getting somewhere.
And just quickly, what Robert said in regards to Liverpool. Robert, who's Liverpool's sporting director?
Is it the Bournemouth guy? They just got.
No. Their main guy. Who's their main guy above the Bournemouth guy?
The CEO of football, Michael Edwards.
Okay. You'd say he's better than who we have, the Winston Lee and Lawrence Stewart. You'd say that Edwards is better than that, right?
But they're performing different roles, though. I get. He's better. He's a better sporting director as those two, but he's not gonna be a sporting director at Liverpool. He's gonna be the CEO of football at the whole FSG, right?
Of course. So he's gonna overlook He's gonna overlook everything. It's not like all of a sudden he's gonna have his eyes closed on which players come in. He's gonna overlook everything. He's not going to have his eyes closed. Whichever players come in.
I actually think he's going to perform. He's going to be more concerned with revenue, sponsorship, and all these deals rather than.
No, of course.
That's players and whatnot.
That's the added thing. But I think he will definitely have a say as to who's entering his club. He's not going to just turn a blind eye on who's entering his club. The point what I'm trying to make is that he's a far more experienced head when it comes to bringing in players and letting go of players. He's done it and we've seen it, and he's done a really brilliant job at Liverpool. Okay. Who's our Virgil van Dijk?
Experienced player?
Yeah, who's that?
Virgil van Dijk.
Who's our Virgil van Dijk? Who's our Virgil van Dijk?
Who's our Virgil van Dijk?
Yeah.
We don't have one.
Who's our Alisson?
We don't have one.
Who's our Mo Salah?
Cole Palmer.
We don't.
You hold Cole Palmer to the level of Mo Salah's experience.
No.
You're just talking about talent.
Experience. Experience. Okay, then we don't have one. But when you say talent and production,
so how could you sit there and compare or even bring up Liverpool's name and use that in your conversation with us? It's not the same. It's not similar teams. Structure could be similar, but we're not in similar areas. We're in two different.
Hold on.
Two different atmospheres here.
Let me What's happened to you? Is your camera all right, Javon? I'm just gonna go through super chats real quick. Because we've got to come towards the end, then I'm gonna let you go after. Let me fly through these. Which players would you part with? We can't make that decision without a manager. Thoughts on Flick to Barca looking very likely. What do you guys think about that? Anybody?
Oh, that's done. That's done. Flick to
Done,
Barca.
is it?
Yeah, it's good.
These clowns going to learn their lesson the rudest way. Now we need the fans to hold anti-owner banners. We need to get our club back. Blues Co out. I mean, you can see in the chat, there's a lot of different opinions. There's a lot of different opinions on the ownership, including probably at the ground. I don't know, but you're not going to get any sort of protest without a unanimous kind of backing from everyone. Sacking Poch was. Hold on, let me just fly through these. Sacking Poch was the correct decision if you look at the season as a whole, but the board will make sure in hindsight we will think this is a wrong one. Maybe so, yeah, fair. Why does Miz have Kai Havertz in his profile pic? I don't know.
29th of May, number 29 is my date of birth. It's not Kai Havertz, man. Like, it's just a coincidence that he wears 29. My birthday's on the 29th of May. 29 is my date of birth. For fuck's sake.
Miz has had enough. Robert speaking of facts, football is moving this way. Emotions aside, who best in terms of tactics? We'll answer that question just towards the end. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Robert, you are a lost man. Get this guy off the paddle, says Matt. Let's see. Got UEFA A. I'm better than Enzo. I'm here. I'm near the bridge. Bruv, I've seen you say this like 10 million times on YouTube. Brilliant. He always does it. Matt, I want pizza. To like you told Abby. Big up Israel. All right, cool. Listen, let's finalize a little bit. Let's wrap things up. Robert, what was you gonna say, brother? And Javon, yeah.
I was gonna say everybody is very pessimistic. But what if this works? Then what?
This is the thing.
You keep saying this though. It's like, why not just give your honest opinion at the time, and then if it works, then obviously we'll just say well done, pat on the back. But at the end of the day, this whole if it works thing, we can do that every single year if we want. We can do that next year if they sack them. We can do it the year after if they sack them. At some point, the percentages of it working will go up and down based upon how we act. And this is a very risky maneuver. I don't think anybody can sit here and wholeheartedly say this is not a risk, a giant risk. So with risk comes with doubt, right? It's natural. If you're going to take massive risks, there's going to be doubt. If someone from the League Two is playing grand spanking football and we choose to hire them over the Premier League person who's playing grand spanking football, I'm going to have doubt about the League Two guy coming in. It might work, but the percentages are lower. Hence why they were, in League Two. It's just an example. So, we'll see.
Sorry about that. My camera battery died. What I was saying before, Robert, when you mentioned Unai Emery, this man has a bag ton of experience in the Spanish league, and he's won the Europa League multiple times in Sevilla. So those people you were listing out have experience. My experience is not strictly geared to the Premier League. What I'm asking for, all right? The experience I'm asking for is to be able to show me that you've been there and done it, for me to put certain level of expectations on you. If we do get a Enzo Maresca, if we do get a McKenna, I'm not going to put that expectation like, you must finish top 4 at bust, because I know that they've never done it at this level for any top club within their respective leagues before. Because championship
we just had the manager that had all of what you listing. Experience in the Prem, doing top 4, challenging for the league. He had all that and still underperformed. So that does not guarantee you anything.
Yeah, I understand it doesn't guarantee anything, but in of itself, based on mitigating circumstances around Pochettino, he wasn't the right man for the job at the end. But that doesn't mean you stop yourself from getting an experienced manager. And at the time when they were hiring Pochettino, we had a whole list of young players with the average age of 20. Pochettino at that time was the obvious candidate based on the list they had. So I'm not back-checking here. I'm not flip-flopping. I want Pochettino gone. But what I'm saying, no, I want a manager that has won something, that has been there, gotten to top 4. Because based on how the team finished, it's clear as day that there's quality in this squad that an experienced manager can extract out of the squad to get us to the next level. And we should be building on what happened last season, not starting out fresh with a new manager who has to then build a rapport with these players, build a baseline for himself in his squad with his tactics with these players, and then from then build to try and challenge for something. I just don't want to hit the reset button because there's no guarantee that whoever comes in is going to continue and pick up where Pochettino left on in an upward trajectory based on form. That's all I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, I hear it. I hear it. I just remember last summer we were here and people were preferring Poch over Xabi Alonso because he has experience in the Prem. And a year later, we've as of today, one is proving to be a better manager than the other, even with the experience in the Prem. So,
But is it fair to say that?
A little bit.
But is it fair to say Leverkusen's team is balanced and their hierarchy from top to bottom actually all agree on the way that they should proceed and go forward? And is it fair to say that just because he's won the league at Leverkusen doesn't mean that was going to translate to Chelsea? Because we have different players, different structure, different competition, different competitiveness within the league. I don't believe A equals B. If Xabi Alonso was to be here, would he have turned out to be the manager that he was at Bayer Leverkusen? I don't think the answer is yes necessarily. It's a completely different club.
I probably agree with you on that, and I don't think if Poch was in his shoes, Poch would have accomplished what Xabi Alonso has accomplished this season.
Fair. I agree with you. Yeah, fair enough.
Even with all his experience.
But the point isn't about Pochettino being there. The point is about Xabi Alonso being at Chelsea, and I agree with Matisse. We can't just categorically sit here and say that, 100% Xabi Alonso would have taken us to fourth. You have to understand, Xabi Alonso got in some, I think Granit Xhaka, he got in Granit Xhaka. He's an experienced player. Would he be able to come to Chelsea and demand that kind of stuff from our owners? Robert, would he be able to do that?
I mean, based on what he achieved, he took them from 17 to 6. That's overachieving. Then yes, you can.
No. What I said is Xabi Alonso brought in Granit Xhaka, who's an experienced player. How old is Granit Xhaka?
No, they catered to the balance that was needed in that team. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that Xabi Alonso coming to Chelsea Football Club, would he be able to bring in experience?
No, not as he walks into the door. But
why not?
If Xabi Alonso didn't walk into Bayern and start demanding things already, he went in there, achieved what he achieved, then start making demands. My point is, don't come in.
We've already debated that point, so I don't want us to go in circles too much because I personally don't believe you should, unless you're moving like a Roman Empire where you're giving your coaches world-class players and you're demanding trophies because you've given them exactly what they need to do their job. I don't think you should necessarily be, and this is early Roman, not so much Zappa Costa and Danny Drinkwater Roman. That's a different conversation. But I don't believe you should be talking about long-term process, talking about extensive due diligence on managers, and then talking about you need to prove yourself completely to me.
It doesn't make
sense.
Whilst
I don't even give you everything that you asked for in the first place and don't actually listen to you. That for me is just like, that's talking out of two sides of the same mouth. Like, do you believe them? Do you believe in them or not? Because Arteta, if we're talking about Arteta and Edu, if he believed in Arteta when Arteta first came in, there was no reason for him to Arteta didn't prove anything after finishing 8th, did he? What did he prove? He didn't prove shit. However, they believed in him so much that they stuck with him. And this is why I don't believe that they're going to stick with any manager if their remit is you need to prove yourself to me and not actually some sort of collaboration, which is what they keep talking about. They've gone from we need to collaborate and work together and trust in each other and listen to each other to you shut up, do the job like Roman, but I'm not going to give you what you need to do the job. Exactly. What kind of bollocks is that? Doesn't make any sense. Sorry for swearing, but it's getting to a point now where it's like we're trying to mirror clubs that don't even operate the same way as us and still talking about them like we act the same. We don't act the same as these clubs that we're trying to operate as. So if you're not going to copy what they're doing, they don't mention their names as teams we're inspired by. It doesn't make any sense.
Asking to prove
Why
a person
didn't hire Xabi Alonso and say, right, we don't trust you, but prove yourself.
Yeah,
they set up environments where they actually gave him exactly what they felt like he needed, and therefore he did perform because they listened to him and they worked together. Xabi Alonso didn't just get a whole bunch of profiles that he doesn't rate and respect and hear that his starters and players that he rates, Gallagher and Trevor Chalobah, are leaving and then perform. That's not how it works.
Exactly. That's not how it
It's
works.
not how it
You can't-
works.
You can't tell a man to prove himself, let's say, prove yourself to catch the ball and you've got them handcuffed. And if you can't catch the ball, well, sorry, you didn't prove yourself. You're not going to get any demands. You've got me handicapped, mate.
But why are we acting like Poch didn't know all of this before he took the job? He
Do you know what,
knew
though?
exactly
I'm
I
not
agree
acting
with
like
you.
that.
I
He
agree
should
with
have
he
you.
knew
known.
all of this. So
I
if
Poch
agree
should
with
not have got the job. Poch
I
should
agree
not
with
have
you.
got the
But
job.
do you know what? Do you know what?
Yeah.
I agree with you. But do you know what I've realized? People lie every day. When they want a job,
Exactly. So
when
see, there
people
you
want
go.
a job, they lie for the job. They
I
lie
agree.
for
No,
the
this is
job.
true. But this is one of the issues. This is one of the issues with Poch taking it in the first place. This is where all the doubt crept in. This is where we started to get to a point of, like Poch is, he's not really it. Until the end, where it actually looked like he was starting to do things his way. But the manager needs to be backed to an extent and vice versa, where that balance that you was talking about earlier on, Matisse, needs to be provided. But we, as like we've mentioned earlier, are going in such an extreme decision, in an extreme direction. Sorry, not decision, an extreme direction. If a Xabi Alonso or a young manager is out there and they're proving themselves, right? We should be at a level where, all right, go after that manager. He's ready. Done. End of story.
I'm gonna say something crazy here,
Spot on.
right?
Spot
But
on.
just follow the trainer path, right? We finished 12th the season before with a negative goal difference, right? This is following Robert's analogy. This season would have been, but if you look at the year over year, this season is an improvement based on last year, right? At the start of last season, no one had a proper baseline of these players, of how all this entire squad will gel together and play together over the entirety of a 38-game season. Am I correct in saying that? Right? No. Based on Robert's logic, shouldn't this be the season you give Pochettino what he needs to then go ahead and build on what he finished last season?
No, I don't think so. I don't
So,
think so.
so let me ask you a question. Did you not just say the manager needs to come in and prove what he needs to prove before he starts asking for stuff? Isn't that what you said?
I did say that.
If Pochettino, and guys, just bear with me here, I'm not saying he should have stayed. I'm just saying, following your track record and following your logic, if he had a better season than the previous manager before, got us top 6, got us European football, shouldn't we then tailor this team to the manager to then say, okay, kick on from here?
No, because the expectation for him was not based off what we achieved last season. The expectation was based off of the quality of the squad that had been assembled for him to coach, which was what he agreed upon when he took the job.
But
and then
Robert,
4 months into the job, he starts saying, "Well, that squad I said it was good enough.
First thing I
it's
said
actually
to
not
you,
good enough anymore."
The first thing I said to you, Robert, was no one knew how this team is going to perform because all of these players have not gelled together and they've never played together over a 38-game season before. If this had happened before, then I could agree with you 100%. But this was not the case. This season was the case because they played together. And then Pochettino could have said, I don't trust Madueke. Pochettino could have said, I definitely need an experienced striker. Look how much chances Jackson should have won out if he scored those chances. Do you understand what I'm saying? No.
I would hear you if Pochettino overperformed the expectation. I would hear you. But we were lingering in 10th most of the season. So they don't come and start making demands when you didn't even achieve the bare minimum that we set for you with a quality squad.
Robert, I hear you, and we've already kind of gone through the reasons why we feel like he didn't maximize the team. But as Javon just said, if Jackson is not underperforming his XG maybe, and it is a striker that's more clinical, maybe those goals are going in, those chances are going in, and there's more wins on the board. That's what he'll point to. So that's why I don't like to say it's just completely the manager's fault and it's not anything to do with anybody else, because there are some teams that will have their striker overperforming XG, right? And their striker is putting away more chances than they're creating for the striker, because they're so clinical and because they're so out of the norm in terms of the baseline of XG. They're a special player. They're covering up for the system. They're covering up the cracks. So there's so many different ways that you can look at it.
True, but I can also rebut him and say, well, but Palmer probably overperformed his XG.
He did, exactly. 100%,
So what
100%.
you know, the Jackson underperforming XG was mitigating by Palmer overperforming his. So what is it? What about, you know, Chilwell left wing and, you know, Gallagher in the 10 and Colwell left back, all of that stuff.
We agree, but
I agree.
You still missed my overall point. I was just following your logic, right? All I'm saying is, if there was a baseline of performances with these players, which the board assembled this squad, and then we could say, okay, these guys are used to playing together. This is the level that we're used to, right? Then Pochettino would have no excuse. Going into the season, I didn't know what Madueke could do. I didn't know what Palmer could do to this extent. I didn't know that Jackson would miss a bunch of sitters. I didn't know this. But now that I know this, then now I can tailor the squad to be better.
What did you predict Chelsea to finish at the beginning of the season?
For me, and if you go back to my podcast, I predicted an unknown. Minimum, I wanted Europa League football.
I said 6th.
Exactly.
I wanted us in 4th.
Matisse was the only one that actually said 4th.
And considering that we're 5 points off with the injuries we've had, if we had Nkuku and James, forget the rest of them fit, I'm adding 5 points onto our total based upon what they're capable of as individuals. Forget systems and tactics, and based upon what they're capable of as individuals. Sheffield United and Burnley, we win those games with our players. Even fuck the manager. Just talking about individual quality, which does play a part in football, and we have to remember that we win more matches with those guys. We don't lose more matches. So. You know, then if he had finished 4th, would you have been happy? You know what I mean? So it's one of those ones that we could go back and forth all day long. Big up everybody.
Why is the live chat saying Jose's back?
Yeah, I wouldn't bother with that.
Are they lying?
It's just definitely not.
No, the standard. I've just seen the standard of put it, and they're quoting Bet365 because the odds have somehow just slashed. It's based on odds of out of nowhere just gone down. So
some foolishness.
Let's be real. If he got the job, he'd kill them. Like there would be a homicide at the bridge. So
it's not gonna happen.
I'm not gonna. One thing I don't like, and I keep saying this, right, is just people be respectful of other people's opinions. What this fan base doesn't need to turn into is slinging shit to each person because they differ from my opinion. That's why I brought Robert on. Me and Robert don't agree on many things, but Robert is here to give his opinion, bring a bit of balance, bring his perspective. Everybody sees things differently. Just be respectful. This is a very tough time for the club, right? It's a very difficult situation to navigate. It's tough. We don't like it because we want to win. Just let people have their opinions. Give your retort respectfully. I'm not going to read out a super chat of you calling everybody bozos. I'm just not, right? It's just not going to happen. Why would I do that? I don't need you to send in a super chat for you to be disrespecting people. I'd rather you just not to send in a super chat. I'll be completely honest. With what you said, though, you're not maybe listening. Just because people wanted Pochettino sacked, it does not mean they trust the directors to make the right decision with the next manager. And that is why many people, including myself, called the directors out along with Pochettino, who wasn't doing the job to the level we thought he should be, because the directors also need to be held accountable for what is going on, in many people's opinion. Robert's argument, as long as the squad is good quality, the manager is not as important. In that case, Matisse should be the next Manchester City manager. I don't think that's exactly what he said, but, you know, again,
I'm here for it.
Frank, most managers get top 4 with this squad. Lampard did. I don't really want to just go back to Lampard and keep bringing that in because Lampard had a very different team. He did indeed. As Robert, I think, may have said yesterday, it might be to our benefit to have a manager that does speak a bit of Spanish, considering we are bringing in so many South American players and we have Enzo and Caicedo. Would Lampard have been able to communicate his shit to half of this squad? Maybe not. You know, it was a very young English team, easy to communicate, easy to understand. Everybody's singing from the same song sheet. Everybody's playing the same way, understanding the identity of the team. There's so many intangibles that go into a team being successful. It's not just player here A, player here B. If Agate is a worse player than Caicedo, but the manager needed Agate more than he needed the Caicedo profile, he might perform better with Agate than Caicedo. Hence why we see players at Aston Villa performing with Emery, but they're not players that I would necessarily say get into our starting 11. But they understand what Emery wants to implement and they can play his way. It's not to say I take Matty Cash over Gusto, like people are trying to say on the Big Six. It's to say that team suits him more than the manager suits our team. And that's why they've been able to pull together and perform. Yeah. Now you're calling us the directors bozos. Anyway, but yeah, you said, yeah, we still ask for Poch's head. We'll have to hold this emphatically get me Neil Warnock. Anyway, yeah, we're going to wrap
Big
up.
up Neil Warnock. Just saying.
What a fantastic debate. What a show. Make sure you smash up the likes. Make sure you subscribe. It's been a mad show. It's been a lot going on. And yeah, man, listen, like I said, I would just preferably have this situation wrapped up as soon as possible. As we can see, maybe extensive shortlists and extensive meetings don't mean we actually get the outcome that the club needs based upon what happened last year. So the quicker we hear an appointment, the better, so we can just actually narrow it down to talking about that person and what they are going to bring and what they can do and how they operate and go from there. But yeah, big up to Miz, big up to Younes, Robert, Javon. Brilliant show, boys. A lot of opinions flying about, a lot of good debate. And yeah, people, we will see you, you know, on our various channels and playback, of course, if you're looking for Robert in particular. And Javon has his channel as well. All links are in the description. And yeah, the content will keep coming out, but this is going to be a long couple of weeks because it seems like we're going to be arguing amongst ourselves until the new manager comes in, and then everybody just has to, you know, fall in line once again. So until then, in a bit, people.
Yeah, man.
Peace.
Come to the playback, people. It's fun over there. Come over to playback.